Chapter 237. Chapter 237, An Amazing Harvest. 549690339, Hua Qi was extremely powerful. He stepped forward and a few martial ancestor realm elders from the royal family followed closely behind him. Powerful auras emanated from their bodies. Damn it, he's really looking for death. Qiu Wuji roared in his heart, but he did not make a move. Right now, it was not yet time for the 10 Direction Sword sect to fall out with the imperial family. Hua Qi was the true prince, the 8th son of the current emperor. If he killed Hua Qi as well, it would be equivalent to declaring war on the imperial family. At that time, the 4 great sects would join forces to attack the 10 Direction Sword sect, and the 10 Direction Sword sect would not be able to withstand it. Moreover, there were many experts from the imperial family this time. Even if he wanted to make a move, he wasn't confident. Good, very good. 8th Prince, you're determined to go against the 10 Direction Sword School. I hope you don't regret it. Also, do you think that you can protect Tianyun like this? You're so naive, just you wait. Qiu Wuji roared in anger. He waved his hand and left with the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School. The faces of the people from the 10 Directions Sword School were all gloomy and extremely ugly. This trip to the Blood Ant Secret Realm could be said to be a complete defeat. Although they had killed a large number of students from the General Star Hall, they were just a motley crew in their eyes. The disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School also lost 60 to 70 people, especially since Yang Zitian had been killed. Moreover, Lu Ming had taken most of the storage rings of the disciples of the Omnipresent Sword sect. Most of the blood ant eggs had fallen into his hands. They had not gained a single thing and were extremely embarrassing. Ha ha ha. The red-haired old man laughed heartily. Tianyun thanks Elder Hong and 8th Prince. Lu Ming stepped forward and cupped his fists to express his gratitude to the red-haired elder and Hua Qi. Tianyun, there's no need for such formalities. Hua Qi helped Lu Ming up. Tianyun, this old man should be thanking you. Not only did you help me win a piece of Sky Star Mithril, but you also severely suppressed the arrogance of the 10 Direction Sword School. It's really satisfying. The red-haired old man laughed. They wanted to kill me, I was just fighting back. Lu Ming said with a smile. Ha, let's go back to the General Star Hall. The red-haired old man laughed and waved his hand. The group immediately returned to the General Star Hall. First, count your harvest. Come here tomorrow morning to count the number of blood ant eggs. The red-haired elder ordered in a large hall of the General Star Hall. The crowd nodded and dispersed. Lu Ming returned to the dormitory and hurried to the Supreme Shrine. He could not wait to see what he had gained. There was a pile of storage rings in front of him. There were nearly 300 of them, and they all belonged to the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School. Lu Ming started to count. He placed 1 blood ant egg and 1 spirit crystal. The other things were also sorted out. There were too many things. Lu Ming took a total of 6 hours to do the inventory. Looking at the item in front of him, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Then, he was overjoyed. The harvest was too great. The blood ant eggs had been obtained by the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword sect. In addition to the ones he had obtained from the blood ant nest, there were more than 23,000 of them. Among them, there were more than 13,000 pills in the blood ant nest, and the nearly 300 people from the 10 Directions Sword sect had contributed about 10,000. Over 23,000 blood ant eggs. This was a massive number. No one in history had ever obtained so many blood ant eggs. If 6 blood ant eggs could be exchanged for 1 blood refinement pill, then 23,000 blood ant eggs could be exchanged for 3,800 blood ant eggs. More than 3,800 blood refinement pills. He exclaimed. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. The more he accumulated before the second bloodline was awakened, the better. Lu Ming used a storage ring to store all the blood ant eggs. Then, he looked at the pile of crystals. There were a total of 620,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming almost drooled. In addition to his previous spiritual crystals, he had already exceeded 700,000 spiritual crystals. Robbing is still the most refreshing. Lu Ming sighed. Of course, this was just a thought. He couldn't go and rob for no reason. Apart from the blood ant eggs and spirit crystals, other things like spirit herbs, spirit medicine, spirit weapons, and all sorts of forging materials were also piled up like mountains. However, most of them weren't of high grade. A small number of them were level 3, while most of them were level 2 or level 1. However, the value of so many of them was still shocking. Just a few hundred storage rings alone were worth a lot. Lu Ming planned to find an opportunity to get rid of all these miscellaneous things. After packing everything, Lu Ming started to cultivate in satisfaction. The next day, Lu Ming went to the main hall. He discovered that the red-haired elder and Hua Qi had both arrived. Tianyun. Hua Qi smiled and greeted Lu Ming. Lu Ming also smiled. Other than them, there were also a few elders from the imperial family. Soon, more than 20 students who had participated in the Blood Ant Secret Realm had arrived. Alright, now take out the blood ant eggs you obtained from the Blood Ant Secret Realm and count them. Then, hand them over to the elders of the imperial family to refine the blood refining pill. Under normal circumstances, 3 blood ant eggs can be used to refine 1 blood refinement pill. According to the rules, if you hand over 6 blood ant eggs, you can exchange them for 1 blood refinement pill. The red-haired old man explained the rules again. Everyone nodded. Immediately, a young man stepped forward and took out a storage ring. The storage ring glowed, and suddenly, many blood ant eggs appeared on the table. An elder began to count. There are a total of 62 blood ant eggs. 60 of them can be exchanged for 10 blood refinement pills. The royal family will pay 300 spiritual crystals for the remaining 2 blood ant eggs. Are you willing to buy them? The imperial family elder asked. I'm willing. The young man said. If the blood ant eggs couldn't be used to refine blood refinement pills, then it was useless to keep them and might as well be sold. 300 spiritual crystals for 1. At the side, Lu Ming gasped and his eyes were burning with excitement. He even wanted to sell all the blood ant eggs. How many spirit crystals would he get? Of course, he was just thinking about it. No matter how many spiritual crystals he had, they were not as important as the blood refinement pill. Even if you had spiritual crystals, you wouldn't be able to buy a pill like the blood refinement pill on the market. Then, he counted them one by one. Most of the students from the General Star Hall did not obtain many blood eggs. They only obtained around 100 blood eggs, and the highest number of blood eggs obtained by one of them was only slightly over 200. On the other hand, Ming Cheng surprised everyone. He had obtained more than 360 blood ant eggs and was temporarily ranked first. Ming Cheng grinned. It was all thanks to Lu Ming that he was able to obtain so many. He had followed Lu Ming to kill blood ants in the blood ant nest and obtained more than 200 pills. Including his own, he had more than 360 pills. Now, Tianyun. The red-haired old man said. Buzz! Buzz! Everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming, their faces filled with anticipation. Lu Ming had robbed most of the storage rings of the disciples of the omnidirectional sword sect. How many blood ant eggs could he have obtained? Everyone was very curious. This fuck, isn't this table too small? I don't think it can fit. Lu Ming looked at the table and smiled bitterly. Ah! Everyone was stunned. Chapter 238. Chapter 238, 4,000 Blood Refinement Pills. 549690339, the table wasn't big enough. This was the first time they had heard this reason. Hurry up and bring the table over. The red-haired old man roared, his face filled with excitement. The others immediately moved a few tables over. The tables were placed together and took up more than half of the hall's area. Lu Ming nodded slightly and took out a storage ring. Everyone fixed their eyes on it. The storage ring glowed, and a small mountain appeared on the table. It was a small mountain formed by the blood ant eggs. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. There are so many goo. How many can there be? One of the students from the General Star Hall stammered and almost bit his tongue. Heavens, isn't this too much? Could it be that Tianyun has emptied out the entire blood ant nest? Another young man shouted. Start counting. The imperial family's elder reacted and began to count excitedly. Not long after, the numbers were out. 23,153. An elder of the imperial family reported the number with a trembling voice. Cece Gu. Everyone in the audience gasped. Even though he had expected this, he was still shocked by the number. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in bewilderment. How many blood refinement pills could he exchange for so many blood ant eggs? 23,153 blood ant eggs, which can be exchanged for 3,858 blood ant eggs. I also have 5 more blood ant eggs to support with spiritual crystals. The imperial family elder announced, but before he could finish, Hua Qi interrupted him. Wait a minute. Tianyun has obtained such a large number of blood ant eggs, so there's no need to count them so seriously. I'll make the decision. Tianyun's blood ant eggs can be exchanged for 4,000 blood refinement pills. Make it a whole number. Hua Qi announced. Yes, 8th Prince. The elder noted it down. Many thanks, 8th Prince. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Of course, Lu Ming would not reject the offer of more than 100 blood refinement pills. Immediately after, the imperial family elder put away all the blood ant eggs. Of course, there were no blood refinement pills at the moment. He had to wait for the blood ant eggs to be refined into blood refinement pills before he could give them to Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming was not afraid that the royal family would swallow his blood ant eggs. Putting aside his relationship with Hua Qi, even if they did not have this relationship, the royal family would not do so. The current situation of the imperial family required the assistance of talents. If the imperial family were to swallow even these blood ant eggs, then they would be short-sighted and digging their own grave. Therefore, Lu Ming was very assured. Lu Ming, this time, you've completely offended the omnipresent sword school and caused them to lose face. They won't let you off. After some time, there will definitely be stronger geniuses from the omnipresent sword school coming to look for you. You must be careful. Before they left, Hua Qi reminded Lu Ming in a low voice. Don't worry. Do you think I'm afraid? Lu Ming said with a smile. Hua Qi was stunned for a moment before he smiled. Ever since he knew Lu Ming, he had never seen Lu Ming afraid of anyone. All right, I'll be waiting for the good news of you killing everyone. Hua Qi laughed before leaving. After Hua Qi and the rest left, Lu Ming left the place and returned to the dormitory. I'll go to the Earth Yuan cave first to consolidate my cultivation. Then, I'll buy resources and break through to the next realm. After returning, Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked towards the Earth cave. This time, he flashed his Hua Qi token, and the expert guarding the door gave him a pile of inscription stones, allowing him to cultivate for as long as he wanted. Lu Ming was secretly delighted. He took the inscription stone and entered the Earth cave. He didn't stop and continued down. On the 3rd and 4th levels, there were still people sitting cross-legged, trying to snatch other people's secret cultivation rooms. When Lu Ming passed by and they saw him, their expressions changed. Although it had only been a day since Lu Ming was in the blood ant mystic realm, the news had already spread throughout the General Star Hall. Many people knew of Tianyun's name. Lu Ming's methods shocked everyone. Lu Ming had another nickname, Ruthless. They looked at Lu Ming with deep respect. Lu Ming only glanced at them casually and continued to head down. When he reached the 5th level, Lu Ming did not stop. He continued down to the 6th level. The fire-based spiritual qi on the 6th floor was several times denser than the 5th floor. Lu Ming opened a secret room, walked in, and started to cultivate. Lu Ming had devoured the blood ant's blood essence and his cultivation level had skyrocketed. His foundation was a little unstable, so he could use the fire element spiritual energy to stabilize his foundation. 10 days later, Lu Ming's foundation was extremely stable and impregnable. There were no flaws at all. At this moment, Lu Ming walked out of the earth cave. Anyway, he could come and cultivate at any time. Lu Ming did not care how long he would cultivate. After walking out of the earth cave, Lu Ming left the General Star Hall and headed towards the largest market in the imperial capital. The imperial city's city square was incomparably huge and occupied an incomparably vast area. Here, shops formed a forest and chambers of commerce gathered. There were even many chambers of commerce that were not native to the Burning Sun Empire. Instead, they came from other empires and brought with them some of the specialties of other empires. There were 36 empires near the Cloud King mountain range. The Burning Sun Empire was only a low-tier empire. Therefore, the imperial city's market was filled with people at all times. Lu Ming walked on the streets of the market, his eyes dazzled and he looked around. Not long after, Lu Ming came to a 5-story building that occupied a large area. Treasure Pavilion, 3 gold-encrusted words, exuding an extraordinary aura. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked in. "Young master, is there anything you need?" As soon as Lu Ming walked into the Treasure Pavilion, a sweet-looking young girl came up to him. Now, Lu Ming's bearing was extraordinary. Although he was dressed ordinarily, he exuded an extraordinary aura just by standing there casually. No one dared to ignore it. The young girl was naturally very attentive. "I'm here to buy some demonic beast blood essence." Lu Ming smiled. "Buy demonic beast blood essence?" The sweet young lady was delighted. Demonic beast blood essence was usually used to refine weapons or pills. It was extremely valuable and those who could buy it were usually big customers. "Young master, may I ask what level of demonic beast's blood essence you want to buy?" The young girl asked, suppressing the excitement in her heart. "Blood essence of a class 9 level 3 demonic beast." Lu Ming said. If he wanted to buy something, he would buy the blood essence of class 9 level 3 demonic beasts. Anything below class 9 level 3 would not be of much help to him. 9th grade 3rd level. The young girl suddenly exclaimed. It immediately attracted the attention of others, and the people around them all looked over. Lu Ming frowned slightly. This young girl's reaction was too big. "What's wrong? You don't have any?" Lu Ming asked. The young girl covered her mouth and looked around. When she heard Lu Ming's words, she hurriedly nodded and said, Yes, young master. The blood essence of a class 9 level 3 demonic beast is extremely precious. Please follow me to the guest room. I'll ask the manager to come." "All right." Lu Ming nodded. It was fine as long as there were. He followed the young lady to a guest room at the back. Naturally, someone had prepared some high-quality tea. After a while, a chubby shopkeeper came in with a face full of smiles. As soon as he came in, he cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Young master, I heard that you want to buy the blood essence of a class 9 level 3 demonic beast." "Not bad," Lu Ming said. Chapter 239. Chapter 239, Bloodline Evolution. 549690339. Young master, this blood essence of a class 9 level 3 demonic beast is very valuable. The shopkeeper said with a smile. "Oh. How many crystals for one?" Lu Ming asked. Class 9 level 3 demonic beast blood essence, 25,000 spiritual crystals for one portion. The shopkeeper replied. Silk banner. Although he was mentally prepared, Lu Ming still secretly gasped. The blood essence of a Class 9 Level 3 demonic beast cost 25,000 spiritual crystals. That was terrifying. Young master, the higher the level of the demonic beast blood essence, the harder it is to collect it. Furthermore, the cost of preserving it is very high. This price is not high, the shopkeeper explained. Lu Ming nodded. Of course, he understood this logic. How many do you need, young master? The innkeeper asked. Let's start with 20 portions. Lu Ming said after thinking for a while. What? 20 servings for 2? The shopkeeper cried out in alarm, the fat on his face jiggling rapidly. What's wrong? Don't you have that many? Lu Ming frowned and asked. Yes, definitely. The shopkeeper shouted excitedly. He knew that a big customer had come today. Most inscription masters would only buy a few portions of demonic beast blood essence to refine pills and weapons. Why would they buy so many? Furthermore, those who would purchase the blood essence of Class 9 Level 3 demonic beasts were usually inscription masters above the martial arts grandmaster realm. It was extremely rare to buy 20 sets of Class 9 Level 3 demonic beast blood essence at once. The shopkeeper was so excited that his heart was trembling. I'll immediately send someone to get it. The shopkeeper called out and then sent someone to get it. Shopkeeper, may I know how much a Class 9 third level demonic pill is? Lu Ming asked. You still want to buy Yao cores? The shopkeeper was even more delighted. He quickly replied, a Class 9 Level 3 demonic pill is much cheaper than the blood essence of demonic beasts. Demonic pills are easy to store and contain more impurities than blood essence. It's usually 1/5 the price of blood essence of the same level. One Class 9 Level 3 demonic pill costs about 5,000 spiritual crystals. Alright, give me 30. Lu Ming said without thinking. Alright, please wait for a moment, young master. I'll immediately send someone to bring it over. After saying that, the shopkeeper quickly got up and walked out. After a while, the shopkeeper came in with a few young girls, carrying a few jade boxes. Young master, the blood essence and monster core that you wanted. The shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming took a look. There were 20 portions of 9th grade 3rd level demonic beast blood essence and 39th grade 3rd level demonic cores. Not a single portion was missing. Lu Ming nodded in satisfaction. He then took out a storage ring and handed it to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, there are 650,000 spiritual crystals here. Please count them. The shopkeeper took it and scanned through the storage ring. His smile became even more brilliant. Young master, since you bought so many at once, we have a special discount. We will only charge you 600,000 spiritual crystals. Also, this is the VIP card of our shop. The next time you come, you will get a 20% discount on all items. The shopkeeper took out a golden VIP card and 50,000 spirit crystals and handed them to Lu Ming. Many thanks. Lu Ming was overjoyed and accepted it without any hesitation. Since he could save 50,000 spirit crystals, Lu Ming would not stand on ceremony. Furthermore, he would get a 20% discount when he bought things in the future. This was very tempting to Lu Ming. With a wave of his hand, he put away the blood essence and monster core. At the side, a few beautiful young girls looked at Lu Ming, their eyes shining. He had offered 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. In their hearts, Lu Ming was a high and mighty figure. How good would it be if I could gain the favor of such a person? The few young girls thought to themselves. However, they knew that it was impossible. How could a person like Lu Ming be interested in them? Shopkeeper, farewell. Lu Ming cupped his hands and strode away. Lu Ming did not feel any heartache at spending 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. After all, he had obtained them from the disciples of the omnipresent sword sect. Once he returned to the dormitory, Lu Ming entered the supreme shrine and could not wait to start cultivating. First, Lu Ming controlled his blood meridian and swallowed a portion of 9th grade 3rd level demonic beast's blood essence. Then, he began to refine it with all his might. This time, Lu Ming did not use it to improve his cultivation. Instead, he used all the energy in the blood essence to improve the level of his blood meridian. The demon core was enough to improve his cultivation. 2 hours later, the blood essence was completely refined. On his bloodline, there were 6 blood-red meridian cycles that were extremely dazzling. However, a 7th meridian cycle had yet to be born. In addition to the 3 blood ants' blood essence, he had devoured 4 class 9 level 3 demonic beasts' blood essence in total. However, his bloodline level had not increased. The difficulty of upgrading the bloodline level was evident. Then, Lu Ming took out another blood essence of a 9th grade 3rd level demonic beast and began to devour it. After devouring it, he took out another one. Just like that, he continuously devoured 15 portions of demonic beast blood essence, all of which were used to improve his bloodline. At this time, his bloodline trembled and finally, the 7th blood-red chakra was born. When the 7th blood-red chakra was born, the snake-like spirit-devouring bloodline roared towards the sky. Its whole body glowed and expanded rapidly. It became thicker and longer. In the end, it turned into a giant python that was about 10 meters long and floated above Lu Ming's head. It's evo-levered. My soul-devouring bloodline has evo-levered again. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His soul-devouring bloodline had evo-levered once when he had advanced to rank 4. That time, it evo-levered from a finger-sized worm into a small snake. And now, it had evo-levered from a small snake to a giant python. Then, what would he become if he continued to evo-levere? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. The giant python roared and opened its mouth, releasing a powerful devouring power that was several times stronger than before. Continue to devour. Lu Ming took out another portion of demonic beast blood essence. However, this time, it only took half an hour for it to be completely refined. His 7th meridian cycle became brighter. Lu Ming then refined the remaining 4 portions of demonic beast blood essence in one go. I wonder how much blood essence I will have to consume if I want to raise my bloodline to level 8. Lu Ming secretly sighed. Lu Ming then took out a demonic core and began to devour it. Refining a demonic pill was much more troublesome than refining blood essence. However, now that the devouring power of the spirit-devouring bloodline had been greatly enhanced, it would not take much time to refine it. In 3 hours, he had refined 1. Lu Ming's cultivation level had improved, but not by much. He continued refining. After refining 5 pills, Lu Ming's cultivation had advanced from the early stage of the 6th grade Great Master realm to the middle stage. The amount of energy required to improve was greater than what Lu Ming had imagined. Continue. In the next 3 days, Lu Ming refined a total of 20 demonic cores. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th grade Great Master realm. He was just 1 step away from breaking through to the 7th grade Great Master realm. However, at this point, Lu Ming had refined a few demonic cores in a row, but it was to no avail. It was difficult for him to break through to the 7th grade Great Martial Master. Lu Ming knew that he had reached a bottleneck. During this period of time, he had improved too quickly and his realm could not keep up. He had to stop and experience tempering and fighting before he could continue improving. Chapter 240. Chapter 240, Detian Battle Arena. 549690339, Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine and walked out of the dormitory. Big Brother Tianyun. As soon as he left the dormitory, he ran into Ming Feng. Ming Feng. Lu Ming said with a smile. Big Brother Tianyun, my big brother has asked me to go to the Ditian Battle Arena with him. Do you want to come along? Ming Feng said. Ditian Battle Arena. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he looked interested. The Emperor Sky Battle Arena was extremely famous. It could be said that there was no one who did not know of it. This was because it was not established by any power in the Blazing Sun Empire. The Emperor Heaven Battle Arena was established by the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was an unimaginably powerful force. Not to mention the Blazing Sun Empire, even the 36 empires of the Yun Emperor were all trash in front of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. They could be destroyed with a snap of the finger. Even in the entire Divine Wilderness continent, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was an extremely powerful force. The Dition Battle Arena created by the Dition Divine Palace was spread all over the Divine Wilderness continent. There were countless of them, big and small. Among the 36 empires of Emperor Yun, only one empire had one Emperor Heaven Battle Arena. In the Dition Battle Arena, one could kill and fight at will. One could also earn a lot of spiritual crystals. This place was both heaven and hell for martial artists. Here, human lives were like grass, but as long as one had the strength, they could win honor and wealth. Lu Ming had wanted to gain some experience. Perhaps the Emperor's Sky Battle Arena was a good place to go. Let's go. We'll go find your brother. Lu Ming smiled. Let's go. Ming Feng was overjoyed. He went to look for Ming City with Lu Ming. When Ming Qing saw that Lu Ming was with him, he was naturally overjoyed. The three of them headed towards the Dition Battle Arena. The Dition Battle Arena was located in the southern part of the imperial capital and occupied an extremely vast area. From the outside, the Dition Battle Arena was an oval-shaped building that was hundreds of meters tall. There were people standing guard at the main entrance of the Dition Battle Arena. To enter the Dition Battle Arena, everyone had to pay 10 spiritual crystals. This was the battle arena opened by the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace, and no one dared to not pay. Even the people from the 10 Directions Sword sect had to behave themselves in the Emperor's Sky Battle Arena. The omnipresent Sword School might seem powerful, but that was only in the Burning Sun Empire. When facing a power like the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, the difference was simply too great. Perhaps a random servant from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace could annihilate the 10 Directions Sword sect with a flick of his finger. Each of them paid 10 spiritual crystals and the three of them walked into the Dition Battle Arena. When they entered, they discovered that the Dition Battle Arena was even wider than they had imagined. The Dition Battle Arena was surrounded by densely packed stands. There were at least dozens of levels and it would have no problem accommodating hundreds of thousands of people. In the center of the arena, there was a fighting ring that was 200 meters long and wide. At this moment, there were two figures engaged in an intense battle on the fighting ring. Shouts came from all around like a tide. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the crowd on the grandstand. It was bustling and not very dense, but Lu Ming estimated that there were tens of thousands of people. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The Emperor's Sky Battle Arena was really profitable. Even if there were only tens of thousands of people watching every day, the daily income was hundreds of thousands of spirit crystals. Kill! On the arena, two burly middle-aged men roared and charged at each other, their killing intent surging. Boom! Boom! Both of them were first-grade great martial masters, and they exchanged dozens of moves. In the end, the yellow-robed man won and cut off the other party's head. I've finally achieved 6 consecutive victories. The yellow-robed man laughed. 6 consecutive wins? There should be a reward of 100 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming thought in his heart. According to the rules of the Dition Battle Arena, anyone could go up to the stage to challenge as long as they paid a handling fee of 50 spiritual crystals. In the beginning, it was a battle between equals. The first 5 matches were very casual. You could challenge anyone, and there would be no rewards. From the 6th round onwards, the Dition Battle Arena would arrange for stronger opponents. The winner would be rewarded with 100 spiritual crystals. 100 spiritual crystals for 6 consecutive wins, 200 for 7 consecutive wins, 500 for 8 consecutive wins, and 2,000 spiritual crystals for 10 consecutive wins. After 10 consecutive wins, if one wanted to continue the challenge, they could not challenge warriors of the same level but had to challenge warriors one level higher than them. Challenging opponents one level higher. Moreover, DT Battle Arena would not allow you to challenge as you please. They would only arrange for opponents who were stronger. For one win, one could get 5,000 crystals, 10,000 for 2 wins, 20,000 for 3 wins, and 10,000 for each win after that. The reward was 90,000 crystals for winning 10 consecutive battles. At this time, if he wanted to continue the challenge, he would have to cross 2 levels to fight. Of course, the rewards would be even better. He would get 100,000 crystals for winning a battle 2 levels above him, and 100,000 more for every subsequent victory. If one could win 10 times in a row, 2 levels higher, the reward would be 1 million spiritual crystals, which was extremely terrifying. The higher the level, the more terrifying the reward. This would naturally attract countless geniuses to come and challenge him. Do you still want to continue the challenge? The judge of the Dityan Battle Arena asked. Yes, of course I want it. The yellow-robed man was full of confidence. All right, I'll make the arrangements. The judge said. Soon, a white-haired elder walked up to the fighting ring. He was also a first-grade great martial master. Boom! Without any unnecessary words, the two of them started fighting. But this time, the old man was obviously better. After about 100 moves, he sent the yellow-robed man flying back with a punch. I admit defeat. The yellow-robed man hurriedly shouted. In the Dityan Battle Arena, one could kill as they wished. If they did not admit defeat, they would only die. The yellow-robed man admitted defeat, and the white-haired old man also stopped. After that, the yellow-robed man received the reward of 100 spiritual crystals and left the fighting ring. The white-haired old man also got off the platform. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? The judge roared as he swept his gaze across the entire arena. I'll do it. A young man in his 20s jumped onto the fighting ring, registered himself, and paid 50 spiritual crystals. I'm a second-grade great martial master. Who's going to challenge me? The young man said loudly as he scanned the crowd. I'll try. A burly man leaped onto the fighting ring and started fighting with the young man. However, he was defeated by the young man after a dozen moves. After that, more and more people went up to challenge him, but they were all defeated by the young man. It was obvious that this young man was a genius. He was extremely powerful and had defeated 5 people in a row. 5 consecutive wins from a young man. Who else wants to come up for a fight? The young man was in high spirits. But for a moment, no one stepped forward. After a long while, an old woman finally jumped onto the fighting ring. We want to test your strength. The judge said. The old woman nodded and followed the judge into a stone door. After the 5 consecutive victories, the Dityan Battle Arena would not allow anyone to challenge them as they wished. They would test the strength of each opponent. Those who were not strong enough would not be qualified to challenge them. Otherwise, as long as someone colluded with a group of people, they could easily win the competition and obtain the rewards. In that case, the Dityan Battle Arena would suffer a huge loss. Moreover, in that case, there would be nothing to see in the martial arts competition. The audience was here to see an intense battle. Chapter 241. Chapter 241, Lu Ming takes action. 549690339. Therefore, only those who had passed the test and qualified could go up and challenge. Or, there were some people who had historical battle achievements in the Emperor's Sky Battle Arena, for example, those who had obtained 6 consecutive victories. They were naturally allowed to go up and fight against the person who was about to win 6 consecutive victories. Moreover, there was no need to test. Not long after, the old lady passed the test and appeared on the fighting ring. Kill! Kill! The audience in the surrounding stands burst out in fierce roars as they looked at the fighting ring in anticipation. They needed to see a bloody battle. That would be exciting enough. Kill! On the fighting ring, the young man and the old woman were moved by the surrounding atmosphere. They roared and charged at each other. The young man was using a sword, while the old woman was using a thin and long blade. The two of them were engaged in an intense battle. The old woman's saber technique was extremely sharp, and she was experienced. Her attacks were fierce, and the young man was no match for her in just 20 moves. Fuck! Just as the young man was about to admit defeat, the old woman's saber light suddenly accelerated. Puchi! The young man's head was cut off by the old woman's saber light before he could even say that he wanted to admit defeat. All right. Wonderful. The surrounding stands were filled with excited screams and clamors. You've killed this person and replaced him, obtaining 6 consecutive victories. Now, do you still want to continue the challenge? The judge asked the old woman. Continue. The old woman said. This old woman was very powerful. She had obviously cultivated for many years, and her martial arts skills were very profound. She won consecutively, and then won 3 more battles, obtaining 9 consecutive victories. At this moment, the old woman shook her head, indicating that she would not continue the challenge. The more she challenged, the stronger the people below would be. She was no longer confident. The surrounding audience was greatly disappointed. They naturally wanted to continue watching, because the further down they went, the more exciting it would be. The old woman received 1,000 spiritual crystals and left the fighting ring. Who's going to challenge me next? The judge's voice echoed throughout the entire arena. I'll go have some fun. Lu Ming stood up and chuckled. Big brother Tianyun, you're going to make a move. Ming Feng's eyes shone with excitement. Ming Cheng also revealed a look of anticipation. They were not worried about Lu Ming at all. They did not believe that Lu Ming would lose in a battle of the same level. Lu Ming smiled and stepped onto the fighting ring. When the judge saw that someone had entered the arena, he smiled and said, "Little brother, please register your cultivation and pay the fee." Lu Ming nodded and took out 50 spirit crystals to register. I'm a 6th grade great martial master. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. His voice was not loud, but it spread throughout the entire area. What? He's a 6th grade great master, so young? Most of the audience in the stands were shocked. The audience in the stands came from all over the imperial capital. Most of them did not know Lu Ming. Could he be a top genius from the 5 great sects? Someone muttered. For a moment, no one went on stage. The younger they were, the higher their cultivation. They were usually geniuses, and their battle prowess was difficult to measure. They didn't want to die in vain. I know him. He's Tianyun, a peerless genius of the General Stars Hall. He's extremely powerful. Half a month ago, in the Blood Ant's secret realm, he killed Yang Zaiqian, a peerless genius of the 10 Directions Sword School. He robbed most of the storage rings of the 10 Directions Sword School's disciples by himself. Someone shouted. It's him. So he's Tianyun. Waves of exclamations came from the stands. In the past half a month, Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital, and the incident in the Blood Ant realm had also spread throughout the capital. How can such a genius fight someone of the same level? Yup. Someone sighed. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He did not expect that it was not good to be too famous. There was no one to fight now. Who's up for a fight? Lu Ming shouted again. But still, no one went up. After a moment, a burly man stood up and said, Young Master Tianyun, I'll fight with you, but we'll only be sparring. What do you think? All right. Lu Ming was overjoyed and quickly agreed. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person, so he didn't necessarily have to fight to the death. He would be satisfied as long as someone went up to the stage. The burly man moved and stepped onto the fighting ring, standing opposite Lu Ming. This is going to be interesting. The audience in the stands all showed an expression of anticipation. Although Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital recently, there were still very few people who had personally witnessed Lu Ming in action. Naturally, everyone was looking forward to it. A large saber appeared in the middle-aged man's hand and he looked at Lu Ming cautiously. Lu Ming held the long spear and stood calmly. Bang! The middle-aged man didn't hesitate any longer and launched an attack. As soon as he attacked, he slashed 18 times in a row, each faster than the last. The saber ray whizzed and locked Lu Ming down. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to make a move. He used the midair step and his figure flashed slightly, leaving the burly man's attack range. Again. The burly man roared and attacked like a tide. The snow-white saber light attacked Lu Ming layer by layer. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm and indifferent. His body was as smooth as floating clouds and flowing water. He swayed slightly, causing the burly man's saber light to miss. Whoosh! Suddenly, the long spear in Lu Ming's hands stabbed out toward the burly man's saber light. With just a casual stab, the burly man's knife light disappeared, and his body became even more like a thug. How did this happen? The burly man shouted. Lu Ming did not use much strength and his saber technique was broken with just a casual thrust of the spear. He found it hard to accept. Your saber technique is a black-grade low-level saber technique. It should be a combination of strength and gentleness, but you've been pursuing speed and power, which has fallen into a disadvantage. Therefore, your saber technique has been stuck at the 4th level, and it's difficult to break through to the 5th level. Lu Ming said slowly, word by word. However, these words were like a bolt of lightning in the middle-aged man's ears. He was stunned. His eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. A moment later, the middle-aged man was overjoyed. He suddenly struck out with his saber, and 27 saber lights appeared instantly. They were extremely dazzling, and their power was much stronger than before. Ha! My saber technique has broken through. The middle-aged man laughed and looked at Lu Ming. He suddenly cupped his fists and bowed deeply, saying, "Thank you, young Master Tianyun, for your guidance. I've been enlightened. Otherwise, I don't know how long it would have taken for me to make a breakthrough in my saber technique. Young Master Tianyun is a genius. I'm truly impressed." "You're welcome. You were able to break through because of your own comprehension ability. I was just throwing bricks to guide the jade." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Now, Lu Ming had even successfully cultivated an earth-level martial arts technique. His outlook was naturally different. The middle-aged man had only cultivated a black-level low-rank martial arts technique. Although Lu Ming had not cultivated any saber techniques, he had seen the world. When the middle-aged man made a few moves, Lu Ming could see the man's weakness and insufficiencies. He gave him a few casual pointers and did not expect the middle-aged man to make a breakthrough in his saber technique in one go. No matter what. Young Master Tianyun's kindness is something that I cannot thank enough for. The middle-aged man saluted again, then turned around and left the fighting ring. It was obvious that he had admitted defeat. The audience in the stands were dumbfounded. This works too. Immediately, a white-haired old man hurriedly jumped onto the fighting ring and cupped his fists. He said very politely, "I'm Xiangmu, please give me some pointers, young Master Tianyun." Chapter 242. Chapter 242, Chapter 242 Unstoppable Winning Streak. 549690339, the old man looked at Lu Ming with a hopeful look. Lu Ming was young, but his understanding of martial arts was shockingly high. Just now, he had given the burly man a few words of guidance and allowed him to have a breakthrough in his martial arts technique. This made the old man's heart burn with passion. Whoa, Xiangmu is too cunning. He's one step ahead of me. Damn it, don't fight with me. It's my turn to challenge him next. Your turn. Why? Young Master Tianyun is using a spear, and so am I. It's my turn to fight in the next round. It's my turn. On the grandstand, a few 6th grade great martial master experts were actually fighting over it. The others were dumbfounded. These people were fighting to challenge Lu Ming, not because he was too weak, but because he was too strong. Such a thing was simply unheard of. Lu Ming was also in a daze. But this way, he was not worried that no one would accept his challenge. Please. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the old man. Please give me some pointers. The old man cupped his fists and then a long sword appeared. Whoosh! The sword light tore through the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Just like before, Lu Ming was not in a hurry to fight back. He dodged with his movement technique and observed the old man's swordsmanship at the same time. After more than 30 moves, Lu Ming's casual spear attack broke the elder's swordsmanship and he retreated rapidly, just like the burly man earlier. However, the old man was not dejected. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming with excitement and hope. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Then, according to what he had observed and his own understanding, he explained the flaws and shortcomings of the elder's swordsmanship. After the elder heard this, he savored it carefully and was overjoyed. His face was filled with excitement as he bowed respectfully to Lu Ming and said, "This old man thanks young Master Tianyun for his guidance." "There's no need to be so polite, senior," Lu Ming said with a smile. Then, the old man walked down the fighting ring, satisfied. "Young Master Tianyun, I've come to ask for your guidance." As soon as the old man got off the stage, a burly man rushed up. "I'll do it, it's my turn." On the other side, there were also people who rushed to the fighting ring. "It's my turn." "Get down. You're the one who should get lost." The two of them bellowed, their killing intent bursting forth. It looked like a great battle was about to break out. The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. Lu Ming was in similar state. "Stop. If you want to challenge, then come one by one. Otherwise, I'll cancel your right to challenge." The judge shouted, his face revealing a speechless expression. He had managed the Dition battle arena for many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. "Judge, I was the one who challenged first." The middle-aged man shouted. "Nonsense, it's me." The other person didn't give in either. "Alright, you go first. You're the last one." The judge pointed at the middle-aged man and said with a sullen face. "Thank you, senior." The middle-aged man was overjoyed. The other person was a little unwilling and stood to the side. The middle-aged man leaped onto the fighting ring and cupped his fists at Lu Ming. He said respectfully, "Young Master Tianyun, I'm also a spear user. Please advise me." After saying that, a long spear appeared in the middle-aged man's hand. "Please." Lu Ming smiled faintly. At that moment, the middle-aged burly man focused his mind and shook his long spear. More than 10 spear flowers appeared in the air and rays of spear radiance shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming did the same thing and dodged dozens of moves. He allowed the middle-aged burly man to perform his strongest martial arts technique and then easily defeated the other party, pointing out his weakness. The middle-aged man was naturally ecstatic and left with 1,000 thanks. Next, another person came on stage and Lu Ming restrained him according to the law. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had achieved 5 consecutive victories. However, Lu Ming's 5-win streak was completely different from the others. Every time his opponents lost, they would leave in gratitude. "It seems like anything can really happen with Tianyun." Ming Qing sighed. Ming Feng nodded his head in agreement. After the 5 consecutive wins, it would be the 6th battle. For the 6th round, a rather famous expert went up directly. This expert had once obtained 6 consecutive victories in the Dition battle arena. Those with historical battle records naturally didn't need to be tested and could directly attack. However, this person was still very polite to Lu Ming. He knew that he was not Lu Ming's match. He came up with the intention of seeking Lu Ming's guidance. Young Master Tianyun, please advise me. This person was also very polite. Lu Ming nodded. There was no suspense as to the result. Lu Ming easily defeated his opponent and gave him some pointers. 6 consecutive wins, 7 consecutive wins, 8 consecutive wins. Very soon, Lu Ming successfully achieved 10 consecutive victories. He won 10 consecutive victories with ease, and he didn't even injure a single person. Tianyun, you've won 10 battles in a row. If you want to continue, you'll have to challenge a 7th grade Great Martial Master. Do you still want to continue? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. Continue. Lu Ming nodded without hesitation. The entire audience was filled with anticipation. How many achievements could Lu Ming achieve by challenging someone one level higher? How many consecutive wins could he achieve? It was impossible for the Ditian Battle Arena to allow an ordinary 7th grade Great Martial Master to challenge someone one grade higher. Those who went up were definitely experts of the 7th grade Great Martial Master realm. All right. The judge nodded and looked around. Is there any 7th grade Great Martial Master challenging Tianyun? I'll do it. As soon as the judge finished speaking, a young man in his 30s stood up and went up to the fighting ring. Yang Tai, you can attack me directly. When the judge saw this young man, he did not let him test his strength. Clearly, this person was rather famous in the Ditian Battle Arena and had obtained the judge's approval. Tianyun, go ahead. I'm not someone that those 6th grade Great Master Realm martial artists from before can compare to. Yang Tai looked at Lu Ming with confidence. Please. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Boom. Yang Tai unleashed his full power. The spear in his hand emitted a dazzling light and pierced toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear trembled. The body of the spear trembled and the air emitted a terrifying fluctuation. A terrifying shock wave rushed toward Yang Tai. Bang! Yang Tai was hit by the shock wave, and his body was sent flying like a cannonball, falling heavily off the fighting ring. CSI. Everyone gasped in shock. One move, just one move, without even using any martial skills, Yang Tai was sent flying out of the fighting ring with just a shake of the spear. Strength, powerful strength. In the first 10 rounds, Lu Ming was very polite. He defeated his opponent after a few dozen moves and did not display any powerful combat strength. Some people had almost forgotten about Lu Ming's ability. Now, he finally remembered that Lu Ming's combat strength was extremely terrifying. Yang Tai struggled to get up. He looked at Lu Ming in horror and staggered out of the room. Then, the challenge continued. Winning streak, an unstoppable winning streak. In less than an hour, Lu Ming had already achieved 7 consecutive victories. The entire place was abuzz with excitement. Crossing one level, he's already won 7 times in a row. Do you guys think that Tianyun will be able to cross one level and win 10 times in a row? It's hard to say. At this point, Ditian Battle Arena probably won't be able to sit still and will send out a true expert. Up until now, Ditian Battle Arena still hasn't sent out a Death Warrior. That's right. In my opinion, Ditian Battle Arena will send out Death Fighters for the next round. Chapter 243. Chapter 243, Chapter 243 2 levels. 549690339, there were 2 main types of challenges. The first was to choose an opponent on the spot. If there were no challengers on the spot, the Ditian Battle Arena would send an expert. The Ditian Battle Arena's strength was unfathomable. Naturally, it had raised a group of experts. The experts sent by the Ditian Battle Arena were known as Death Fighters. Just from the name, one could tell that the Death Warriors were all powerful and fearless people. If he attacked, he would definitely see blood. Tianyun, please wait a moment. the judge said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. In a luxurious room at the highest point of Ditian Battle Arena, there was a window that allowed one to view the entire Ditian Battle Arena. At this moment, there were a few old men watching. This Tianyun is extremely powerful. It's time to send out the Death Warriors. One of the black-clothed elders said. That's right. However, ordinary Death Warriors are definitely not Tianyun's match. I suggest that we let 18 go first. If 18 can't win, then we'll let 17 go. Another old man said. I agree. I also agree. The other old men nodded. Then, they passed down the order. Not long after, an extremely tall and strong man covered in scars rushed into the fighting ring. The burly man's entire body was filled with a murderous aura. His eyes were like those of a wild beast as he glared at Lu Ming. The word 18 was carved on the man's face. Number 18 is Ditian Battle Arena's Death Fighter. Furthermore, it's number 18. When the audience saw this big man, they all exclaimed in shock. It's said that only the Death Warriors with extremely strong combat strength are qualified to have words carved on their faces. It's said that there are 5 strongest 7th grade Great Martial Masters in the Ditian Battle Arena, from 16 to 20. This 18 is one of them. Seems like the Ditian Battle Arena really values Tianyun. Of course. If Tianyun were to win 10 consecutive victories, he would have to pay 90,000 spiritual crystals. How could the Ditian Battle Arena let Tianyun win so easily? That's true. Wonderful. The 10 spiritual crystals today were so well spent. I guess those who didn't come will regret it to death. Lu Ming's gaze flickered slightly and he looked at 18. Lu Ming could sense a strong murderous aura from the other party. Ditian Battle Arena's Death Warriors? It's finally getting interesting. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. A hint of fighting spirit flashed in his eyes. Tianyun, you've got to be careful. 18 won't show any mercy. The judge was kind to a genius like Lu Ming and he reminded him. Many thanks. Lu Ming smiled faintly. All right, let's begin. The judge announced. Roar. With the judge's announcement, 18 let out a beast-like roar. With a move of his hand, a meteor hammer appeared. The meteor hammer let out a terrifying howl and smashed toward Lu Ming. The meteor hammer was a strange weapon. It was very difficult to master, but once it was mastered, it would be very powerful. The meteor hammer was like a shooting star, blasting toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not dodge. Instead, he thrust his spear. Ding! Ding! The tip of the spear accurately pierced the meteor hammer, making a deafening sound. The long spear did not move at all, but the meteor hammer was sent flying back at a speed even faster than before. 18's ferocious expression changed drastically. He leaped up high and dodged the meteor hammer. The meteor hammer slammed onto the fighting ring, emitting a violent boom. If it wasn't for the inscription formation inscribed by the experts of the Ditian Battle Arena, it would have exploded. This 18 is probably comparable to an ordinary 8th grade Great Martial Master. Lu Ming's heart stirred. However, an ordinary 8th grade Great Martial Master was nothing in front of Lu Ming. Buzz! After that, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of 18 like a ghost. He then swept his spear at 18. Boom! 18 blocked with the iron chain, but it was useless. Lu Ming's spear hit her directly. She flew more than 100 meters away with the meteor hammer before she stopped. He had won. Tianyun had won. He had won in a clean and direct manner. The entire audience looked at Lu Ming in shock. They were not surprised that Lu Ming would win. However, they were shocked that Lu Ming won so easily. At the highest point of the Ditian Battle Arena, the few old men watched, their eyes glimmering. This Tianyun is definitely a peerless genius. He's a demonic-level peerless genius. Only other peerless geniuses who are one level higher than him can fight him. It'll be very difficult for anyone else to stop him. An old man sighed. That's right. I feel that this Tianyun hasn't even used most of his strength. Even if 16 were to go up, she wouldn't be his match. Then let him obtain 10 consecutive victories. Of course, this is a good thing. When the time comes, as long as we operate a little, we'll be the ones to make a big profit. Ha, that's right. Then, let 17 and 16 go up. Not only were the elders not unhappy, their faces were filled with joy. Next, a man with a 17-year-old carved on his face came up. He was still no match for Lu Ming. 9 consecutive wins. After 9 consecutive wins, a girl in her 20s came up. The word 16 was engraved on her face. This woman's strength was a whole lot stronger than the previous 17 and 18. She had actually comprehended force. Unfortunately, he was still a far cry from Yang Zitian. He was no match for Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming's power of fire burst out and he defeated his opponent easily. 10 consecutive wins. Lu Ming had challenged someone one level higher and achieved 10 consecutive wins. According to the rules, he could get 90,000 spiritual crystals as a reward. Tianyun, do you wish to continue the challenge? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. At that moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. If he continued to challenge, he would have to cross 2 levels. Although it was rare to have 10 consecutive wins against someone one level higher, there would still be one every once in a while. However, there were very few people who could cross 2 levels and defeat them. For a battle that was 2 levels higher than him, he would be rewarded 100,000 spiritual crystals for 1 win, and for every victory he won, he would be rewarded with an additional 100,000 spiritual crystals. How tempting was this? However, there were too few people who could obtain it. The current 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun were all geniuses who had challenged opponents 2 levels above them and won. Among the 6 heroes, 5 of them had 4 consecutive victories across 2 levels. Only the leader of the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong, the peerless genius of the 10 Directions Sword School, had achieved a record of 7 consecutive victories across 2 levels. It was also the Burning Sun Empire's highest achievement in the past 100 years. Would Tianyun accept it? I choose to continue the challenge. Lu Ming said without hesitation. 90,000 crystals was too little for 10 consecutive wins. Crossing 2 levels was Lu Ming's goal. He was tempted by the rewards and he would not miss it. Whoosh! The scene was in an uproar as everyone became excited. Tianyun had agreed to continue the challenge. There was going to be a good show to watch. It was not common to see a challenge that was 2 levels higher. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, the judge revealed a happy smile and said, Tianyun, we'll need to arrange for people to take on the challenge that's 2 levels above us. We can't start it immediately, and it'll take 3 days. Are you willing to do so? 3 days later. Lu Ming was stunned. He then nodded in agreement. Chapter 244. Chapter 244, Ditian Auction House. 549690339, alright, we'll continue the challenge 3 days later. The judge revealed a happy smile and cupped his fists in all directions. Everyone, the day after tomorrow will be the day of the grand auction that the Ditian Auction House holds once every half a year. I hope that everyone can attend it. The challenges for today will end here. An auction? Lu Ming was stunned and he showed a look of interest. Then, he walked down the fighting ring. Big brother Tianyun, I'm starting to admire you more and more. Do your best in 3 days. When that time comes, you'll break the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun and your name will shake the entire Blazing Sun Empire. As soon as he got off the fighting ring, Ming Feng ran over impatiently and said excitedly. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Among the 6 heroes, the other 5 had won 4 consecutive victories across 2 levels, while Chiu Changkong had won 7 consecutive victories across 2 levels. Could he break through? To be honest, Lu Ming was not confident. Sometimes, it also depended on luck. If one was 2 levels higher and encountered geniuses on the level of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun, it would be difficult to win. Lu Ming shook his head and did not think too much about it. The 3 of them left the arena and walked towards the General Star Hall. Big Brother Tianyun, the Di Tian auction will be held the day after tomorrow. Do you want to go? Ming Feng asked. Of course I'm going. Lu Ming said with a smile. Then let's go together. I'll call my sister. Ming Feng said. Lu Ming nodded. He pondered for a moment and said, Ming Cheng, Ming Feng, you guys go back first. I still have something to do. All right. Ming Cheng and Ming Feng nodded and returned to the General Star Hall. Lu Ming walked towards the market. The Ditian auction could be considered as one of the side businesses of the Ditian Battle Arena. It was not held frequently and was usually held once every half a year. However, many precious treasures would appear every time. Lu Ming was also rather tempted. However, he had less than 200,000 spiritual crystals on him now, which was too little. If he found a treasure that he liked and didn't have enough spiritual crystals to buy it, he would be vomiting blood. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to sell all the miscellaneous items he had on him. He had all kinds of smithing materials, spiritual herbs, pills, spiritual weapons, and many cultivation methods and martial arts techniques on him. They piled up into mountains and Lu Ming had no use for them. He planned to sell them all. After arriving at the market, Lu Ming went into each shop and sold a portion of the goods. 3 hours later, Lu Ming had sold all the items. He had sold those things for a total of 300,000 spiritual crystals. In addition to the spiritual crystals he had on him before, he had almost 500,000 spiritual crystals. 500,000 yuan should be enough. After that, Lu Ming returned to the dormitory. The next day, a piece of news spread wildly in the imperial capital. The unparalleled genius of the General Stars Hall, Tianyun, will be challenging a person 2 levels above him at the Ditian Battle Arena. He has the hope of breaking the record of the 6 Scorching Sun heroes. This news caused a huge commotion the moment it spread. Challenge the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun. No one had been able to do it in the past few years. Countless people were discussing and guessing. Naturally, Lu Ming had also heard the news. The first thing that came to Lu Ming's mind was the Ditian Battle Arena. This news was definitely released by the Ditian Battle Arena. There was no other reason other than to let more people go and watch the battle 3 days later. How many spiritual crystals could the Ditian Battle Arena earn in that case? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This Ditian Battle Arena was too good at seizing opportunities to make money. However, Lu Ming did not care. A day passed by quickly. The next day, Lu Ming, Ming Chen, Ming Feng, and Ming Zhu headed to the Ditian auction house. The Ditian auction house wasn't far from the Ditian Battle Arena. Young Master Tianyun, you are a distinguished guest. Please follow me to the guest room. The moment Lu Ming's group of 4 arrived at the Ditian auction house, an incomparably beautiful young lady welcomed them. VIP room? The 4 of them were stunned. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that this was the doing of the Ditian martial arts arena. Of course, he would not reject it. The 4 of them followed the young lady and arrived at a VIP room. The Ditian auction house was divided into 2 parts. One was the main hall, which was where the ordinary bidders Saturday. On the 2nd floor above the main hall, there were rooms for distinguished guests surrounding the main hall. In the VIP room, the environment was elegant, and there were tea, fruits, and snacks. It was comfortable and quiet. Those who could enter the VIP room represented their status. The 4 of them entered VIP room number 7. They sat in the VIP room and looked outside through the glass. There were at least 50,000 people in the hall. Furthermore, the number of people was still increasing. So many people. Ming Feng looked outside excitedly. The treasure later is the most important. Even if we can't afford it, it's still good to broaden our horizons. Ming Zhu said with a smile. She looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She knew that if it were not for Lu Ming, how would the three of them be qualified to enter the VIP room? Half a year ago, she had also been here, but only in the hall. After a moment, an old man in a white robe walked up to the high platform in front of the hall. The hall fell silent. I am Du Ji, the host of this auction. Thank you all for coming. Now, the auction will officially begin. First, let's bring out the first item of the day. The white-robed old man said in a clear voice. Then, a beautiful woman with a curvy figure brought out a jade plate. On the jade plate, there was a piece of red metal. Everyone, I'm sure you've already seen that this is a piece of red rock spirit iron, the best material to forge a level 4 spiritual weapon. The starting price is 10,000 spiritual crystals, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 spiritual crystals. Du Ji announced. 10,000 crystals. So expensive. Ming Feng was secretly speechless. This is a material that can be used to forge 4th level spiritual weapons, so of course it's expensive. Ming Zhu said. As Du Ji's voice fell, someone immediately made a bid. I bid 11,000 spiritual crystals. I'll pay 12,000. Slowly, the price rose to $22,000, and it was bought by an old man. Next is a bottle of elixir, which is very useful for Grandmaster Realm martial artists. The starting price is 800 spiritual crystals, and each bid must be no less than 100 spiritual crystals. Then, it was the second item. It was impossible for every item to be as expensive as the first one, which cost tens of thousands of spiritual crystals. Not many warriors below the martial arts grandmaster level could afford it. I'll pay 1,000 spiritual crystals. I bid $1,100. Soon, a group of martial grandmasters began to bid. Lu Ming sipped his tea while watching. Lu Ming was not interested in pills that could increase the cultivation of a martial grandmaster. This kind of pill would have some effect on ordinary martial artists, but to him, the effect was very small. It was far less effective than buying Yao cores to refine. However, it was different for others. They didn't have a heaven-defying bloodline like the spirit-devouring bloodline. It was very rare for them to have elixirs that could improve their cultivation base. Soon, the price of the elixir was raised to 2,000 spiritual crystals. $2,100. Ming Zhu also began to bid, her eyes revealing a look of desire. $2,200. However, someone immediately added it. $2,300. $2,500. The price continued to rise. Ming Zhu sighed. This price was too high for her, and she could only give up helplessly. Chapter 245. Chapter 245, Chapter 245 Innate Original Fluid. 549690339, $3,000. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out and spread throughout the entire place. Ming Zhu was stunned because the voice was Lu Ming's. Lu Ming had his eyes on this bottle of pills. Since Lu Ming had made a bid, Ming Zhu would not make a bid. 3,100. Someone in the hall continued to bid. $4,000. Lu Ming smiled and increased the bid to 4,000 spiritual crystals. The crowd fell silent. Lu Ming made a bid without any hesitation and added 900 spiritual crystals at once. It was obvious that he was determined to win. Ming Zhu, Ming Cheng, and Ming Feng were also a little surprised. Although this bottle of pills was good, it was only more effective for martial artists at the lower ranks of the Grand Martial Master. With Lu Ming's cultivation, it would not be of much use. She did not know why Lu Ming was so interested. Are there any more bids? Du Ji asked. No one made a bid. After that, Du Ji asked 3 times, but no one made a bid. This bottle of pills naturally belonged to Lu Ming. After a while, a beautiful young lady came in with the pills. Lu Ming took out 4,000 spiritual crystals and handed them to her. Mingzhu, this bottle of pills is for you. Lu Ming took the pill and passed it to Mingzhu. Give it to me. Mingzhu was stunned. At the side, Ming Cheng and Ming Feng were also a little stunned. The pill that Lu Ming had bid for earlier was for Mingzhu? I saw that you wanted it just now, so I bought it for you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. No, I can't accept such a precious pill. Although Mingzhu was very eager, she still refused. You're welcome. It's just a bottle of pills. Lu Ming said with a smile. Sister, just accept it. You can't waste Big Brother Tianyun's good intentions. Ming Feng chuckled as he blinked his eyes at the pearl. His eyes were filled with an inexplicable smile. That's right, second sister, you should accept it. Ming Cheng smiled like a cunning fox. Mingzhu's face suddenly turned red. It was unknown what she was thinking. Her large eyes were filled with tears, and her voice was as soft as a mosquito. Thank you very much, young Master Tianyun. Having said that, he took the bottle from Lu Ming's hands, his eyes filled with joy. At the side, Ming Cheng and Ming Feng grinned. They looked at Lu Ming and then at Mingzhu. They nodded from time to time. What are you laughing at? Lu Ming looked at the two of them speechlessly. He didn't think too much about it. He just saw that he wanted the pearl, so he bought it. It didn't cost many spiritual crystals, as a way to thank him for the help the pearl had given him when he entered the General Star Hall. The auction continued, item after item being auctioned off. Some of them were extremely rare, and the price went up to tens of thousands of crystals. Some were only worth a few hundred crystals. However, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. These items were of no use to him and he was not interested in them. As for Ming City and Ming Feng, they had their eyes on a few and participated in the bidding. Soon, more than 100 items fell into the hands of different people. The next item is the last item of this auction. Of course, it is also the most precious. At this moment, Du Ji said loudly. It's time to auction the finale item. The atmosphere at the scene instantly rose. Every auction would have a finale item, and they were all treasures that were extremely rare. Lu Ming was slightly interested. Du Ji saw that the atmosphere had been raised and revealed a satisfied smile. He clapped his hands and a young lady walked over with a jade plate. The jade plate was covered with a golden silk gauze, so it was impossible to see what was inside. You have to know the use of this treasure. Everyone knows that in the cultivation of martial arts, although the physical body is not the foundation, it is also an extremely important auxiliary path. Those with a strong physical body not only have strong vitality and amazing recovery ability, but it can also greatly enhance the combat power of the martial artist. There are even many other wonderful uses. Du Ji began to explain the uses of the physical body. Could it be a treasure that can help with physical cultivation? Lu Ming's interest was immediately aroused. Many people at the scene also revealed looks of anticipation. Du Ji smiled and continued, however, it's extremely difficult to train one's physical body. If you rely on cultivation techniques to train slowly, the speed will be extremely slow. It'll also consume a lot of energy. However, there are shortcuts. There are many treasures in the world that can quickly temper the body and enhance the strength of the body in a short time. There are strong and weak treasures, and the effects are different. Du Ji didn't seem to be in a hurry and explained slowly, but the others were holding it in and immediately shouted. What kind of treasure is it? Why don't you tell me? That's right. What is it? Open it and see. If you want to know, it's simple. I'll ask you a question, and you'll know. Among all the treasures in the world, what is the treasure that has the greatest effect on the physical body? What kind of treasure is most effective for the physical body? Needless to say, it was naturally the innate original liquid. Why? Don't tell me you have the innate original liquid. A voice rang out, somewhat in disbelief. There was a sudden silence. Some were shocked, but then they shook their heads secretly. Innate original liquid? How was that possible? It was said that the connate original liquid was a treasure that could only be formed after millions of years. There were even many connate original liquids that were only born when the world was created. It was extremely helpful to the body and was known as the number one in the world. Of course, there were also differences in the innate original liquid. According to the different effects, it was divided into 4 levels. Low grade, medium grade, high grade, and top grade. However, even a low-grade primordial origin liquid was a rare treasure in the world and extremely precious. The fire spiritual milk that Lu Ming had obtained back then could also temper the body. However, it was trash when compared to the innate original liquid. Ha ha ha, my friend, you guessed right. This treasure is the innate original liquid. Du Jiha laughed. What? This time, it was a big deal. The entire place was in an uproar. It really was the innate original liquid, which was beyond everyone's expectations. How is that possible? It really is the primordial original liquid. Get it, I must get it. Countless people roared, their eyes burning with fire. They looked at the tray in the hands of the young girl on the high platform, wishing they could take it for themselves. In guest room number 7, Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. The 3 Ming siblings were so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Du Ji was very satisfied with the reaction of the crowd. The more enthusiastic the crowd was, the higher the price would be later. Du Ji stretched out his hand and pressed it down slightly, saying, "Calm down for a moment." The scene instantly fell silent. Although this treasure is the innate stock solution, it's only a low-grade innate stock solution and there's not much of it. Du Ji said. Everyone nodded in agreement. It was only normal for it to be of low grade. How could it possibly appear in the Blazing Sun Empire? Even if it did appear, not many people would be able to afford it. At this moment, Du Ji reached out and removed the gauze on the tray, revealing a red stone ball. This is the innate original liquid. Everyone revealed a puzzled expression. Chapter 246. Chapter 246, Chapter 246 Get lost if you don't have money. 549690339. This stone ball contains the innate original fluid. There aren't many of them, only 9 drops. Du Ji explained with a smile. 9 drops? That's enough. Someone muttered. On the other hand, some people looked excited. The innate original fluid was too precious. Not many people could afford it if there were too many of them. However, if there were only 9 drops, it was worth a try. Moreover, even if there were only 9 drops, the effect was still very shocking. 9 drops of primordial origin liquid. I want them. Lu Ming looked at the stone ball, his eyes filled with determination. His body had been stuck at complete grade 2 for a long time and had not broken through. As long as he obtained the 9 drops of innate origin liquid, his body would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. It would be easy for him to break through to grade 3. If that was the case, his combat strength would have a huge increase. The 9 drops of primordial origin liquid have been studied by the elders of the Ditian battle arena. There is no mistake. Alright, the bidding will begin now. The starting price for each drop of primordial origin liquid is 10,000 spiritual crystals. 9 drops will make the starting price 90,000 spiritual crystals. Each increment must not be less than 5,000 spiritual crystals. Du Ji announced. CSI. Many people gasped and looked dejected. Even though he had expected this, he was still shocked when he heard the price. 90,000 spiritual crystals. Most of the people's anger was extinguished. 100,000 spiritual crystals. Although the price was high, not everyone could afford it. Immediately, someone called out a bid from one of the VIP rooms. From the voice in guest room number 3, he seemed to be very young. 110,000. Then, an old voice came from guest room number 9. 120,000. In the hall, a voice suddenly rang out. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and strong man. 150,000. In guest room number 3, the young voice sounded, but it was a little cold. 160,000. Immediately after, the bidder from VIP room number 9 followed suit. In the hall, the burly man's eyes flickered as he stared at the stone ball on the high platform. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. But in the end, he let out a long sigh and gave up on bidding. 160,000 spiritual crystals was more than all his wealth. He could only give up 170,000. The bidder in VIP room number 3 continued to raise the bid. 180,000. Guest room number 9 did not give in at all. At this moment, Lu Ming did not make a bid. There was no need to do so now. He would bid later. It was the same. Honored guest room number 3 and honored guest room number 9 competed with each other. Very quickly, the price of the innate original liquid shot up to a high of 250,000. At this moment, the voice in guest room number 3 was extremely cold. At this moment, 5 young men were sitting in guest room number 3. However, the 5 young men's expressions were not good. Where did this old man come from? How dare he compete with senior brother Chuming for the treasure? He's really looking for death. A young man with a slightly pale face said with killing intent. That's right. It seems like he doesn't know that we're disciples of the 10 Direction Sword School. The other man said coldly. Among the 5 people, the one sitting in the middle was a handsome young man in a blue robe. His expression was very cold. Frowning, he looked at VIP room 9 and said, Senior, I'm Chuming, a disciple of the 10 Direction Sword sect. These 9 drops of innate origin liquid are very useful to me. I hope you can give them to me. His words were very polite, but his voice was cold and filled with killing intent. An extremely powerful aura spread out from guest room number 3. This was clearly a threat. A disciple of the 10 Direction Sword School. The people in the hall were all shocked, and their eyes revealed fear. A member of the Chiu family of the 10 Direction Sword sect. An old voice came from the 9th VIP room. An old man was sitting inside, but he looked scared. Not bad. Chuming replied coldly. Forget it. I'll give these 9 drops of primordial origin liquid to you young people. The old man in guest room number 9 pondered for a while and finally sighed. The 10 Direction Sword sect was a huge force in the Blazing Sun Empire, and not many people dared to offend them. Chuming smiled when the old man left. 250000, 250000, any higher bids? Duji looked around and asked. This is the innate original fluid. It's very rare in the world, even in the Blazing Sun Empire. Its effect on the body is extremely amazing. If we miss today, who knows when we'll get another chance. 250,000, is there a higher bid? Duji tried his best to tempt him. Chuming's performance just now had made him very dissatisfied, so he naturally shouted to his heart's content. This old man. Chuming gritted his teeth and glared at Duji unhappily. If looks could kill, Duji would have been pierced through like a sieve. 300,000. At this moment, a clear voice suddenly rang out and spread throughout the entire place, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Someone made a bid. Even after knowing that it was a disciple of the 10 Direction Sword School, he still dared to make a bid. Who was he? Everyone's eyes immediately turned to the 7th VIP room. That's right, the one who bid just now was Lu Ming. Moreover, he increased the bid by 50,000 in one go, pushing the price to 300,000. 300,000. Okay, this friend here bids 300,000. Is there anyone higher than 300,000? Du Ji was overjoyed as he announced. Bang! In guest room number 3, Chuming slammed his palm on the table and broke it into pieces. His face was extremely dark. Where did this blind brat come from? He clearly knows that we are disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School, yet he still dares to bid. Is he looking for death? The pale-faced young man roared, and his voice reverberated throughout the entire area. I bid 300,000 spiritual crystals. Are you going to make another bid? Lu Ming pursed his lips and said indifferently. You're looking for death. Chuming finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted, Kid, I'll give you 5 breaths to take back your bid. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die an ugly death. If you have money, pay. If you don't have money, why are you still here chirping? Get lost. This was Lu Ming's response. It was strong and overbearing. Everyone in the auction hall was shocked. This mysterious person was actually so domineering that he told the 10 Directions Sword School to get lost. You. Chuming's face was livid with anger. A powerful aura spread out and enveloped the 7th guest room. Brat, I'm going to kill you now. Chuming roared. You can try. Lu Ming responded strongly. The other party's cultivation was at the 8th grade Grandmaster realm and was extremely powerful. However, what did Lu Ming have to fear? Die! Chuming roared and walked out of the VIP room, heading for VIP room number 3. Impudent! Suddenly, Du Ji roared out as an extremely terrifying aura exploded out, pressing down on Chuming like a mountain. Chuming's body trembled, and he could not move. This was the aura of a martial arts grandmaster. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect this kind-looking Du Ji to be a martial arts grandmaster. Old man, what are you doing? Are you looking for death? I'm a disciple of the 10 Directions Sword School. Chuming roared. What dogs hit 10 Directions Sword Sect? How dare you cause trouble in the Emperor Sky auction house? Kill! Du Ji shouted. The word kill contained boundless killing intent. Chapter 247. Chapter 247, Chapter 247 Physical Body Improvement. 549690339, Chuming shivered. He was used to acting like a tyrant, and he had only shouted out in passing. At this moment, he finally remembered that this was the Emperor Sky auction house, and Du Ji was a member of the Emperor Sky Divine Palace. Even if he killed Du Ji, the 10 Swords sect wouldn't dare to let out a fart. Chuming's body stiffened at the thought of this, and he broke out in a cold sweat. Senior, I was wrong. I was just a bit impatient just now. I hope Senior doesn't take offense. Chuming quickly cried out and begged. Get back to your room. Du Ji shouted. Chuming hurried back to VIP room number 3 as if he had been pardoned. Damn it! After Chuming returned to the VIP room, he let out a low roar. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Just now, he had lost a lot of face. He would definitely become a laughingstock. This was all because of Lu Ming. Investigate. I must find out who that kid is. I'm going to grind his bones to dust. Chuming growled. Senior brother Chuming, I know who he is. Suddenly, a young man who had been silent the entire time spoke. You know. Chuming looked at the young man. This man is Tianyun of the General Stars Hall. I will never forget his voice no matter what. The young man said through gritted teeth. This young man was one of the 6 geniuses from the 10 Directions Sword sect who had comprehended force in the Blood Ant secret realm. Tianyun. It's him. Good, very good. I came here to kill him, but now he actually dares to snatch the innate original liquid from me. He really brought this on himself. Qiuming said coldly. Senior brother Qiuming, there are only 2 days left before Tianyun challenges a person 2 levels above him at the Di Tian battle arena. We'll go kill him then. You still want to challenge the record of the Scorching Sun 6 heroes? Dream on. The pale-faced young man sneered. Alright, I'll let him live for 2 more days. I'll let him have these 9 drops of primordial origin liquid first. When I kill him, the primordial origin liquid will be mine. Qiuming said coldly. 300,000 spiritual crystals. Is there a higher price? In the hall, Du Ji continued to host the auction. The audience was silent. This auction was not targeted at powerhouses above the martial grandmaster realm. Most of them were martial artists in the grandmaster realm. 300,000 spiritual crystals was not a small amount for a martial grandmaster, let alone a grandmaster. Therefore, no one continued to bid. Du Ji asked 3 times but no one made a bid. The 9 drops of primordial origin liquid were successfully won by Lu Ming. Lu Ming paid the spirit crystals and kept the stone in the supreme shrine. The auction came to an end. Lu Ming, Ming Cheng, and the rest returned to the General Star Hall. Lu Ming then entered the supreme shrine and took out the stone. The stone was about the size of a fist, and it gave off a shocking amount of essence qi when held in his hand. There were 9 drops of primordial origin liquid sealed inside. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He held the stone in his hand and squeezed it hard. Kacha! The stone cracked open, and an even denser essence qi spread out. Then, a drop of primordial original liquid seeped out from the crack. The innate original liquid was as black as ink, but it also emitted a little bit of luster. It was very magical. Lu Ming opened his mouth and inhaled the drop of primordial origin liquid. He placed the rest into a jade box and circulated the flaming Vajra art to begin refining. The connate original liquid transformed into an endless amount of essence that seeped into his muscles, bones, and bones. Under the guidance of the flaming Vajra arts, it continuously strengthened Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's physical strength increased rapidly. His fleshly body, which had been stuck at complete grade 2, also began to break through. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's body trembled. His bones emitted crackling sounds like fried beans. His muscles squirmed continuously and only calmed down after a long time. 3rd grade body. I've finally achieved initial success in the 3rd grade body. Lu Ming muttered, his face full of joy. The innate original liquid was indeed known as the #1 body tempering treasure in the world. Just a drop of low-grade innate original liquid had allowed Lu Ming's physical body to break through smoothly and reach the 3rd grade initial success of the physical body. His body had reached the 3rd grade and was even more powerful. This made Lu Ming's explosive power stronger and his combat strength greatly improved. Continue. Lu Ming muttered. Then, he swallowed the 2nd drop of primordial origin liquid and began refining it. At the 3rd grade body, it was more difficult to improve as compared to the 2nd grade body. However, with the help of the innate stock solution, Lu Ming's body was still improving rapidly. After more than a day, Lu Ming had cultivated the flaming Vajra arts to the Great Circle stage in one go. In other words, Lu Ming's physical body had already reached the Great Circle of the 3rd grade physical body. The 8 drops of primordial origin liquid had also been completely refined. If I want to continue improving my physical body, I have to find a higher level physical body cultivation technique. Lu Ming was deep in thought. The flaming Vajra arts could only cultivate the physical body to complete 3rd grade at most, and that was already the limit. What powerful physical strength! My combat strength has increased by at least 30%. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. At this moment, his expression changed as he heard a light knock on the door. With a thought, he left the supreme shrine and opened the door. It was the 3 Ming siblings. Big brother Tianyun, today is your challenge to cross 2 levels. Ming Feng said hurriedly. Lu Ming smacked his head. He was so engrossed in refining the Khanate original liquid that he almost forgot the time. Let's go. Immediately, the 4 of them hurried to the Ditian battle arena. At this moment, the Ditian battle arena was already filled with people. All the seats were filled with people, and it could be described as a sea of people. There were no less than 300,000 people. Everyone had to pay an entrance fee of 10 spiritual crystals. The income of the Ditian battle arena today was no less than 3 million spiritual crystals. It was truly terrifying. However, at this moment, the Ditian battle arena was in an uproar. Why isn't Tianyun here yet? What the hell? It can't be that he's not coming, right? No, then I've come for nothing. I'll give you back your spirit crystals. I'm not watching anymore. I gave up a mission to come and take a look. It can't be that bad, right? In the crowd, Qiuming and the others stood there with a grim expression on their faces. This Tianyun, could it be that he knows that he offended senior brother Qiuming during the last auction and is afraid to come? I think it's 90% true. A few disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School deliberately discussed loudly. This time, dozens of disciples from the 10 Directions Sword sect had come. The Ditian battle arena's higher-ups, a few elders, also frowned as they looked down. What's wrong with Tianyun? Why isn't he here yet? I've already sent someone to pick them up. A few of the elders discussed in low voices. Suddenly, an old man's expression changed. He revealed a smile and said, Tianyun, you're here. At this moment, Tianyun walked through the gates of the Ditian battle arena and strode towards the battle stage. Tianyun, you're here. It was unknown who shouted, but the entire place suddenly quieted down. Hundreds of thousands of pairs of eyes turned to look at the entrance. Lu Ming walked in front and strode forward. The 3 Ming siblings followed behind him. Tianyun's here. Looks like he's been delayed by something. With his talent, how could he not come? Who was the one who said that Tianyun would be afraid to come? He's really using his own yardstick to measure the heart of a gentleman. The crowd was excited, but the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School had ugly expressions. Weren't they the ones who had said those words just now? Chapter 248. Chapter 248, Chapter 248 Continuous Killing. 549690339, it's good that you're here. You're still going to die. Qiuming said with a dark expression. The 3 Ming siblings went up to the grandstand while Lu Ming walked up to the battle stage in the middle. Everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming, who was on the fighting ring. Alright, now the Tianyun challenge has officially begun. Who wants to come up for a fight? The judge announced loudly. I'll give it a try. An old man shouted as he stepped onto the fighting ring. It's a monster from Mang Mountain. He's an 8th grade Great Master, and he's won 7 consecutive battles against his peers. He's considered an expert even among the 8th grade Great Master realm, and he's qualified to be Tianyun's first candidate. As soon as the old man went up the stage, someone recognized him. You can fight. The judge nodded and acknowledged the strength of the monster of Min Mountain. Young Master Tianyun, please. The monster of Shao Mountain fixed its gaze on Lu Ming, its body exuding a powerful aura. Lu Ming smiled and a long spear appeared in his hands. Bang! The monster of Mang Mountain took a step forward and rushed toward Lu Ming. Wind staff technique. The monster of Shao Mountain bellowed. The dragon-headed walking stick in his hand was like a whirlwind, striking at Lu Ming one after another. The monster of Mang Mountain revealed his absolute strength as soon as he attacked. Even among 8th grade Great Martial Masters, he was one of the top fighters. Lu Ming thrust his long spear and engaged in a fierce battle with the monster of Shao Mountain. He didn't use his aura. Although the monster of Mang Mountain was quite strong, he didn't need aura. After more than 10 moves, the monster from Shao Mountain was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. The defeat of the monster of Shao Mountain was within everyone's expectations. However, the experts who would come up later would also become stronger and stronger. The real challenge had just begun. Who's going to fight? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. Tianyun, I'm coming to kill you. With a loud shout, a disciple of the 10 Directions Sword School jumped onto the fighting ring. For a sect disciple like the 10 Directions Sword sect, who could reach this level of cultivation at such a young age, they were all geniuses and almost didn't need to test their strength. Tianyun, if you know what's good for you, quickly return the primordial origin liquid to senior brother Chuming, then kneel down and apologize to the 10 Directions Sword sect in front of everyone. If you do that, I'll consider only crippling your cultivation and sparing your dog life. The disciple of the 10 Directions Sword sect shouted coldly. He was extremely arrogant and ashamed. Idiot. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Fuck, what did you say? You're looking for death. Even if I kill you, your things will still be mine. The disciple from the omnidirectional sword sect roared. His aura exploded as he charged toward Lu Ming. It had to be said that this disciple of the 10 Directions Sword School was very strong, much stronger than the monster of Mang Mountain. No wonder he was so arrogant. Unfortunately, his opponent was Lu Ming. Buzz! The force of the wind was fused into the spear, causing the speed of the spear to be extremely fast. The crowd only saw the shadow of a spear flash, and in an instant, it appeared in front of the disciple of the 10 Directions Sword School. Puchi! The long spear pierced through the heart of the disciple from the 10 Directions Sword sect. The disciple from the 10 Directions Sword sect let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. One-shot kill. What powerful strength! Everyone was shocked. The disciple from the 10 Directions Sword School was still extremely arrogant just a moment ago, but he was instantly killed. He's 2 levels higher than me, and yet he's still able to insta-kill me with a single shot. Isn't this Tianyun way too strong? The disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School aren't weak. They're the top experts even among the 8th grade Great Martial Masters. Tianyun's battle prowess is definitely equivalent to a 9th grade Great Martial Master. This is too terrifying. Can he really break the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun? Many people were discussing in shock. At this point, Lu Ming had already won 2 rounds in a row, while the other 5 of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun had only won 4 rounds in a row. Everyone was filled with anticipation. You're looking for death. A roar came from the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword sect. A figure jumped high into the air and landed on the fighting ring, causing it to shake violently. It was Chuming. Tianyun, your winning streak ends here. If you want to break the record of the 6 Scorching Sun heroes, it's impossible. Chuming looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. You think you can stop me? Don't end up like the one just now. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Don't compare me to him. Tianyun, you've repeatedly offended the might of my 10 Directions Sword sect. Today, I'll make sure you die an extremely miserable death. Chuming said coldly. At the same time, the aura on his body grew stronger and stronger. Within the strong aura, there was a force, the force of gold. I forgot to tell you something. I have refined all 9 drops of primordial origin liquid. Lu Ming suddenly changed his tone and smiled. What? You. Chuming's face turned green and he almost lost his momentum. The primordial origin liquid was of great use to him. The main reason why he wanted to kill Lu Ming was to snatch the primordial origin liquid. However, Lu Ming said that the innate original fluid had been refined. Chuming's eyes turned red and he roared in anger, Tianyun, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out, and an extremely dazzling sword chi slashed toward Lu Ming. The sword chi was infused with the force of metal, making it extremely sharp and indestructible. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear trembled and he used the force of the wind to attack Chiu Ming. Boom! The heavens and earth rumbled, and the fighting ring kept shaking. Terrifying air waves rushed in all directions. The first move was a tie. Kill! Chiu Ming's attack missed and he launched a storm of attacks. Chiu Ming's combat strength was absolutely terrifying. In terms of talent, he was not as good as Yang Zitian, but his cultivation was much higher than Yang Zitian's. Similarly, his combat strength was also much higher than Yang Zitian's. It was not difficult for Chiu Ming to kill an opponent of a higher level. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged more than 20 moves in a row, causing the space to tremble. Chiu Ming's combat strength is too strong. He shouldn't have appeared in the third battle. He's trying to stop Tian Yun from winning. That's right. From the looks of it, Tian Yun has the ability to break the records of the other 5 out of the 6 Scorching Sun heroes. It's a pity that he was stopped by Chiu Ming. As long as Tian Yun defeats Chiu Ming, there won't be any problem for him to break the 5 heroes record. The crowd was in a heated discussion. Is this your true strength? I'm so disappointed. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly said indifferently. What? Chiu Ming was stunned. Boom! The aura on Lu Ming's body exploded like a volcano. An incomparably powerful aura burst out. It was the combination of fire and wind, erupting with a terrifying power. A long spear broke through all the obstacles and stabbed toward Chiu Ming. This spear attack could not be dodged or blocked because it was too fast and too powerful. I'm not afraid. Chiu Ming was scared out of his wits. He roared crazily and used all his strength to resist. However, they were all unnecessary. The long spear pierced through his heart. The true energy on the spear burst forth, crushing his heart into pieces. Chiu Ming was dead. The audience was stunned for a few seconds, then burst into an earth-shattering uproar. Lu Ming had killed Chiu Ming and achieved 3 consecutive wins. However, the strength that he had displayed was too terrifying. If there were no other terrifying geniuses, Lu Ming would definitely break the 5 heroes record. He might even break Chiu Changkong's record. Chapter 249. Chapter 249, Breaking the Record. 549690339, who else from your 10 Direction Sword School wants to fight? Lu Ming looked at the area of the omnidirectional sword sect. However, the disciples of the Shifang Sword School were silent. Even Chiu Ming had been defeated. There were a few 8th grade great martial masters among them, but none of them were as strong as Chiu Ming. Wouldn't they be courting death if they went up? Damn it! When the geniuses on the Esilavira ranking of the 10 Directions Sword Sect come, I'll see how you die. The disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School all had dark expressions as they roared in their hearts. Lu Ming sneered and swept his gaze across the entire arena. However, no one stepped forward to fight. Tian Yun, since this is the case, my Ditian battle arena will send someone out for the battle. The judge said. Lu Ming nodded. After a while, a young man full of killing intent stepped onto the fighting ring. However, this person was not as strong as Chiu Ming. He was defeated by Lu Ming after a few moves. 4 consecutive wins. Following that, Ditian Battle Arena sent another person to the arena, but he was still defeated by Lu Ming. 5 consecutive wins had already broken the record of the Scorching Sun's 5 heroes. However, Lu Ming's victory did not stop there. Following that, Ditian Battle Arena continued to send people up. They were all strong death fighters, each stronger than the last. Unfortunately, they were all defeated by Lu Ming. 6 consecutive wins, 7 consecutive wins. He tied with Chiu Changkong's record, but not long after, Lu Ming won again. 8 consecutive wins. The crowd burst into an uproar. Chiu Changkong's record had finally been broken. My God, Tian Yun is going to defy the heavens. Could it be that his talent is even greater than Qiu Changkong's? Not necessarily. Qiu Changkong was strong when he was a martial grandmaster, but he wasn't much stronger than the other 5 heroes. Qiu Changkong was only able to surpass the other 5 heroes because he had awakened his second bloodline when he broke through to the martial ancestor realm. That's right. Although Tian Yun is strong now, he might not be able to reach the martial ancestor realm. That's true, but it's still quite terrifying. Furthermore, what's Tian Yun's limit? How many consecutive wins will he be able to achieve in the end? The crowd speculated in shock. Tian Yun couldn't have crossed 2 levels and obtained 10 consecutive victories, right? The facts proved that their guess was coming true. In the 9th battle, Di Tian Battle Arena sent out a powerful expert who was stronger than Xiuming. However, he was still not a match for Lu Ming. 9 consecutive wins. This made the elders of the Di Tian Battle Arena's higher-ups somewhat stunned. This little fellow's strength isn't bad. In the future, he might even be able to join the Empyrean Sky Divine Guards. We have to pay close attention to it. The contribution of the recommendation will not be small. It's still too early to join the Ditian Divine Guards. Let's see how his martial ancestor's second bloodline is awakened. Now, the most urgent thing is to stop his winning streak. Otherwise, we old guys will suffer a loss. A few old men were discussing, frowning. Let number 10 go. He's the only one who got into the top 10 with his 8th grade Great Martial Master cultivation. If he's defeated, we can't do anything. Let's do this. The order was quickly given, and a topless young man in his 20s walked up to the fighting ring. On his face, there was a number 10. Number 10. How could it be number 10? A few people who knew the inside story of the Di Tian Battle Arena cried out in surprise. The death fighters of Ditian Battle Arena, number 1 to 10, were usually the top experts among the 9th grade Great Martial Masters. But now, no. 10 was an 8th grade Great Martial Master. Many people understood that this number 10 must be extraordinary. He's an expert, that's what makes it interesting. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. This number 10 did not give off a strong aura, but Lu Ming could vaguely sense that he was dangerous. Kill! Number 10 suddenly let out a loud roar and a long spear appeared in his hand. In an instant, he shot out dozens of spear rays, which pierced through the air toward Lu Ming. He actually uses a spear too, just nice. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Buzz! The spear trembled and let out a buzzing sound. Rays of spear light burst out and clashed with number 10. On the 200-meter-wide fighting ring, 2 shadows crossed each other. The spear's radiance whistled and exploded. The rumbling sounds were endless. It was extremely terrifying. At the same time, there were 3 types of shirt that were constantly bombarding and resisting each other. This little fellow called Tian Yun is truly astonishing. At such a young age, he's already comprehended 2 types of force, and he's already at the initial success stage in both. His fire force in particular is approaching the major success stage. That's right. Number 10's mountain force is also close to completion, and it's about the same as Tianyun's fire force. However, Tianyun's wind and fire combination is even more powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that number 10's cultivation base is much higher than Tianyun's, he would have already lost. In my opinion, defeat is only a matter of time. The higher-ups of the fighting arena were discussing as they watched. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had exchanged more than 100 moves with number 10. Satisfying, satisfying. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. The more he fought, the braver he became. The power of wind and fire gathered on the demon's subduing spear, forming a shocking destructive power. In this battle, other than the earth-level martial arts technique and blood meridian that did not erupt, Lu Ming had used all his strength. The current Lu Ming was extremely powerful. He had reached the 4th stage of the true war dragon technique and a perfect 3rd-grade physical body. With the convergence of the power of wind and fire, an ordinary ninth-grade great martial master would not be able to take more than a few of his moves. From this, one could see how powerful number 10 was. The audience of over 300,000 held their breath and stared at the fighting ring, afraid to miss the most important scene. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, another 100 moves had passed. Lu Ming's courage mounted as the battle progressed and he gradually gained the upper hand. A shocking killing intent erupted from number 10's body. He was like a wild beast, unafraid of death. However, he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. Bang! After another 100 moves, number 10 was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. He slid a few 100 meters away and fell off the fighting ring. Roar! Number 10 growled. He wanted to rush up the fighting ring, regardless of his injuries. Enough! Stop! The judge shouted in a low voice. 10's body trembled and he stopped in his tracks. His eyes were filled with fear. This round, Tianyun wins. The judge announced. Who? The audience in the stadium let out a long breath. They had been too nervous just now. Many people had been holding their breath until their faces were red. Now, they could finally let out a long breath. Then, there was a shocking uproar. Over 300,000 people began to discuss excitedly. Crossing 2 levels and winning 10 times in a row. That's too terrifying. It hasn't happened in the Burning Sun Empire for at least 500 years. Miracle, what a miracle. After today, Tianyun's name shall be known throughout the world. If Tianyun were to mature, he would be comparable to the 6 heroes, or even stronger. I'm witnessing the birth of a miracle. In the crowd, the 3 Ming siblings were so excited that they were trembling, while the people from the 10 Direction Sword School were all pale and bloodless. Lu Ming, are you going to continue the challenge? Then, everyone thought of the same question. He could fight a battle that was 3 levels above him. Moreover, it wasn't just a simple jump of 3 levels, and he wouldn't be facing an ordinary 9th grade great martial master. He was definitely an expert, and he was definitely stronger than number 10. Would Tianyun continue? Countless people were looking forward to it. This little guy won't really continue, will he? A few elders among the higher-ups bitterly smiled. If Lu Ming continued to fight, they would be at a loss. Tianyun, do you still wish to continue the challenge? The judge looked at Lu Ming, but there was a trace of nervousness and speechlessness in his eyes. He had the same thought as the other elders. Chapter 250. Chapter 250, News of Father. 549690339. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Ming shook his head. No more challenges. Lu Ming said. Ah. Everyone was stunned. You're not challenging anymore. Why is Tianyun not challenging anymore? He clearly won. If he were to challenge someone 3 levels above him, he would be able to obtain an additional 1 million spirit crystals as a reward. That's right, why isn't he challenging us anymore? I'm just about to witness history. Countless people were greatly disappointed. Only the judge and the few elders of the Ditian battle arena were overjoyed. Tianyun, the judge said, suppressing his joy, since that's the case, I hereby announce that you've won 10 consecutive victories across 2 levels. The reward is 1 million spiritual crystals. Lu Ming nodded. The reason why he didn't continue to challenge was that he could tell that if he showed off too much and earned too many spirit crystals from the Ditian battle arena, it would definitely cause the Ditian battle arena to be unhappy. On the other hand, if he were to continue challenging, the opponent he would face would definitely be even more powerful. If that were the case, all of his trump cards would be exposed. It was not wise to reveal all his trump cards in front of the enemy. So, he chose to end it. 1 million spiritual crystals was enough for now. However, the audience in the arena was itching for a fight. They were all guessing whether Lu Ming would win if he continued to challenge and how many consecutive wins he would win. Of course, there was no answer to that. Some people felt that Lu Ming had already done his best just now. If he continued to challenge, he would definitely lose. Hence, he chose not to continue the challenge. There were also people who felt that Lu Ming still had the strength to spare and chose not to fight for some unknown reason. There were different opinions. Lu Ming could not be bothered. He followed the judge and received the reward of 1 million spiritual crystals. Lu Ming left, satisfied. Of course, there were also the 3 siblings from Ming City. Big brother Tianyun, you're really too amazing. If I'm half, no, 1/10 as amazing as you guys, I'd be laughing my head off even in my dreams. Ming Feng looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Lu Ming smiled and said, let's go. What do you want to buy? It's my treat today. It's true. Ming Feng was overjoyed. He pulled Ming Zhu and Ming Cheng and ran towards the market. When they arrived at the market, the 3 Ming siblings picked from all the places and spent 5,000 to 6,000 spiritual crystals. To Lu Ming, it was nothing. Lu Ming was a millionaire now. After that, he returned to the General Stars Hall. At the entrance of Lu Ming's dormitory, he saw Hua Qi waiting there. Hua Qi, you were waiting for me. Lu Ming smiled and walked over. Lu Ming, you've exceeded my expectations time and time again. Today, you've achieved 10 consecutive wins across 2 levels, surpassing Qiu Changkong's record. Hua Qi said with a smile. Of course, Ming Feng had gone to Ming City. Hence, Lu Ming was the only one there. He did not have to hold back when he spoke. You found out so quickly. Lu Ming was stunned. Right now, almost all of the higher-ups in the entire imperial capital know about it. Hua Qi said with a smile. Lu Ming was speechless. The spread speed was really terrifying. Lu Ming, my father wants to see you. Hua Qi suddenly said. Your father? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Hua Qi's father, the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, wanted to see him. That's right, Lu Ming. I didn't hide your information from my father. You won't mind, right? Hua Qi looked at Lu Ming and said. Why would I? Lu Ming smiled. In fact, Lu Ming had already expected this. Since he had agreed to help Hua Qi, it was only natural for him to tell his imperial father. Seeing that Lu Ming did not seem to mind, Hua Qi smiled and said, Lu Ming, I've told my father about your father. He's been sending out a lot of people to investigate and it seems like there's some progress. What? Is there any news of my father? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, then he was overjoyed. Lu Ming, don't be happy too early. It seems like there's only a slight lead. Hua Qi said. Let's go and see your imperial father. Lu Ming could not wait. A little bit of information was better than no news and finding a needle in a haystack. Then, Lu Ming left the General Star Hall and boarded a beast carriage with Hua Qi, heading toward the palace. After they arrived at the palace, Lu Ming followed Hua Qi and headed straight for the Imperial Garden. When Lu Ming arrived at the Imperial Garden, he saw a middle-aged man with a burly and majestic figure. He was dressed in a golden dragon robe and was sitting in a pavilion, drinking tea. He was just sitting there casually, but he had a terrifying majesty. This was the majesty of an emperor. There was no doubt that this was the current emperor of the Burning Sun Empire, Hua Zhengxing. Your son pays his respects to imperial father. When he arrived at the pavilion, Hua Qi bowed. I, Lu Ming, pay my respects to your majesty. Lu Ming also cupped his fists and bowed. Ha, nephew Lu Ming, no need for formalities. Come, have a drink with me. Hua Zhengxing was very forthright as he laughed. Lu Ming and Hua Qi walked in and took their seats. Beside them, the emperor's trusted aide poured tea for Lu Ming and Hua Qi. I've long heard that nephew Lu Ming is a dragon among men, unparalleled in the world. It's true after seeing you today. Hua Zhengxing said with a smile. Your Majesty, you're too kind. Lu Ming said humbly. Hua Zhengxing took a sip of tea and said, Lu Ming, you've been creating miracles time and time again, but at the same time, you've also offended the omnidirectional swordsman. You must be careful from now on. However, since you've joined the General Stars Hall and your eighth brother's close friend, I can promise you one thing. As long as it's a fight between peers, no matter what happens, I and the royal family will definitely stand on your side. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Hua Zhengxing was implying that as long as it was a fight between peers, he could go all out. The royal family would stand firmly behind him and protect him. Many thanks, Your Majesty. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Although the royal family had declined, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. They were still powerful. With the emperor's promise, Lu Ming would no longer have to be afraid if he encountered disciples of the 10 Direction Sword School in the future. He could just kill them. If the older generation of the 10 Direction Sword School were to make a move, the royal family would definitely step in. In this way, Lu Ming would have less to worry about. There's more. Hua Zhengxing moved his hand and a storage ring appeared in his hand. He said, these are blood refinement pills. There are 4,000 of them. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the blood ant eggs from the last time had been refined into blood refinement pills. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and accepted it. He deserved it. Your Majesty, I heard you know where my father is. Lu Ming asked. He had wanted to ask since he arrived, but he had been holding it in. Now, he could not hold it in anymore. I've been sending people to investigate all this time, Hua Zhengxing said after a moment of silence. I've been investigating since 8 or 9 years ago, and I've finally found some clues. Your father is most likely imprisoned by the 10 Direction Sword School for some reason. This is certain. Also, there is a high possibility that your father is not dead, but we have not found out where he is imprisoned. Father really didn't die. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Then, he was filled with endless anger. His father had actually been imprisoned by the 10 Directions Sword School. Damn it, the 10 Directions Sword School deserved to die. Lu Ming roared in his heart. Chapter 251. Chapter 251, 7th Grade Great Martial Master. 549690339. Lu Ming, don't worry. I'll do my best. I'll find your father's whereabouts soon. He said. Hua Zhengxing said with a serious face. Lu Ming thanks your Majesty in advance. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. This time, he was sincere. Although he knew that the reason why Hua Zhengxing was helping him was because he saw his talent and wanted to rope him in, it did not matter. As long as it was beneficial to both sides, it was fine. Hua Zhengxing smiled, looking quite satisfied. He then took out a gold-stamped invitation and said, Lu Ming, it'll be my 60th birthday in 3 months. This is the invitation. You must attend it. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He did not reject the invitation. He took it and said, don't worry, Your Majesty. Lu Ming will definitely be there. Ha, Lu Ming, there aren't many people who can make my father personally send out an invitation. Only the 5 great sects and the nobles and ministers of the imperial capital. Hua Qi said with a smile. Lu Ming, you should focus on your cultivation during this period of time. When the 5 major sects gather in the imperial city, the geniuses on the Esilavira ranking and even the gold ranking disciples of each sect will come. I'm afraid that the Esilavira ranking disciples of the Omnidirectional Sword School will cause you trouble. You have to be careful. Hua Zhengxing warned seriously. Lu Ming expressed his gratitude once again. After chatting for a while longer, Lu Ming and Hua Qi stood up and left. In the General Stars Hall, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on his bed. Father, how have you been all these years? Is it because of that bronze pendant that the 10 Direction Sword School imprisoned you? Father, I'm useless. I can't save you now. Lu Ming clasped his hands tightly together. Strength, he was still too weak. If he was really strong enough now, he could directly kill his way to the 10 Direction Sword School and force them to release him. But now, he was still far from that. He urgently needed to improve his strength. Martial Arts Grandmaster. I have to reach the Martial Arts Grandmaster realm as soon as possible. Only a martial arts grandmaster can be considered a true expert in the Blazing Sun Empire. Only then can I have the right to speak. Furthermore, I can fly. It will be of great help to me when I do things. After the series of battles at the Emperor Heaven Battle Arena, I feel that my bottleneck has loosened. I'll go and buy another batch of demonic cores tomorrow to raise my cultivation level with all my might. Then, Lu Ming appeared on the third platform of the Supreme Shrine. He placed the spiritual crystal in and began to fight with himself. The next day, Lu Ming went out early and headed to the market. It was still the treasure pavilion. Young master, you're here. Please come in. The eyes of the young lady who had received Lu Ming previously lit up the moment she saw him. She brought Lu Ming to a VIP room. Ha ha ha, young master, long time no see. Very quickly, the shopkeeper walked in. Young master, what do you need to buy this time? Shopkeeper, I'd like 100 class 9 lever 3 demonic cores. Lu Ming said. 100? The shopkeeper was shocked. Yes, is there a problem? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Could it be that the treasure pavilion didn't have that much stock? No, no problem. The shopkeeper quickly shook his head. He was just shocked earlier and did not understand why Lu Ming bought so many demonic cores. Also, 20 portions of blood essence of class 9 lever 3 demonic beasts. Lu Ming continued. Alright. Please wait a moment, young master. I'll be right there. The shopkeeper nodded his head repeatedly, his face full of smiles, and walked out. Soon, the shopkeeper brought over 100 demonic cores and 20 demonic beast blood essence. Young master, the original price of these blood essence and monster cores was 1 million spiritual crystals. But you have a VIP card with a 20% discount. The total price is 800,000 spiritual crystals. The shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. It was good to have a VIP card. He could save 200,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming paid the spirit crystals without hesitation and kept the blood essence and demonic core. He then left the treasure pavilion under the respectful gazes of the shopkeeper and the beautiful saleswomen. After returning to the General Stars Hall, Lu Ming walked straight to the Earth Aeon Cave. The effect was the best when it was combined with the cultivation in the Earth Cave. On the 6th level of the Earth Cave, Lu Ming walked into a secret room and sat down cross-legged. With a flash of crimson light, the spirit-devouring bloodline emerged. The python, which was more than 10 meters long and had distinct scales, was suspended above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming took out a demonic pill. The giant python opened its mouth and sucked the demonic pill into its mouth. At the same time, it also sucked in a huge amount of fire element spiritual energy. Now that his spirit-devouring bloodline had reached the 7th level, it could devour the spiritual energy of heaven and earth at a terrifying speed, even faster than a 9th level bloodline. The massive amount of fire-type spiritual energy and the energy from the demonic core were refined by his blood and surged into Lu Ming's body. The bottleneck at the peak of the 6th grade Great Master realm had finally loosened, and there were signs of a breakthrough. 2 more. With a move of his hand, he took out 2 more demon cores and let the giant python swallow them. Boom! Waves of energy continuously surged into Lu Ming's body and finally turned into a loud boom. He had broken through to the 7th grade Grandmaster realm. After breaking through to the 7th grade Grandmaster realm, Lu Ming's bloodline had become even more terrifying. It was constantly absorbing the spirit chi from the outside world. The spirit chi from the outside world formed a funnel that was constantly devoured by the spirit-devouring bloodline. At the same time, Lu Ming took out another demonic core and continued to devour it. The essential chi in Lu Ming's body surged crazily. A few hours later, the strange phenomenon finally disappeared. A 7th grade Grandmaster's true chi is twice as dense as a 6th grade Grandmaster's, but it's still not enough. I need to continue breaking through. After that, Lu Ming continued to consume demonic cores and cultivate. Every day, he would spend half of his time cultivating the true war dragon technique, swallowing demonic cores to increase his cultivation, and the rest of his time comprehending the force of fire and comprehending martial arts techniques. Time flew by, and a month's time passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming had devoured all 100 demonic cores, and his cultivation had risen to the peak 7th grade Grandmaster realm. That's right, 109th grade 3rd level demonic cores could only raise Lu Ming's cultivation to the peak of the 7th grade Great Master. At the 7th grade Great Master realm and 9th grade 3rd level demonic cores, the effects were much weaker. He had also consumed all 20 portions of Class 9 Level 3 Demonic Beast Blood Essence to improve his bloodline level. However, his bloodline was still at level 7 and had not broken through. Lu Ming estimated that unless it was the blood essence of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, the level of the blood meridian would increase very slowly. The blood essence of a Wu Zong. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help smiling bitterly. The blood essence of a martial arts Grandmaster was equivalent to the blood essence of a level 4 demonic beast. The thought of its price gave Lu Ming a headache. The 6th level of the Earth Cave. The fire property spiritual chi is still a little weak. Let's go to the 7th level. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It was said that only martial Grandmasters could go to the 7th level of the Earth Cave. Because the fire property spiritual chi was too rich and violent, it was very dangerous for a martial Grandmaster to go down. However, Lu Ming had the spirit-devouring bloodline and was not afraid at all. He intended to make use of the rich and violent spiritual energy of heaven and earth to help him break through to the next realm and comprehend the force of fire at the same time. He felt that the force of fire was already very close to large success. He walked out of the secret room and headed to the 7th floor. As soon as he reached the 7th level, Lu Ming felt as if he had arrived at the mouth of a volcano. The terrifying and violent fire attributes spiritual chi continuously charged at Lu Ming. Good, this is the kind of environment I need. He opened a secret chamber and walked in. Then, he controlled his spirit-devouring bloodline. The violent spiritual energy of heaven and earth continuously gathered toward Lu Ming. Chapter 252. Chapter 252, The Emperor's Birthday. 549690339. A few hours later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and started to comprehend the force of fire. In the blink of an eye, another month and a half had passed. One day, the stone door of the secret chamber opened and Lu Ming walked out. There was a smile on Lu Ming's face. Obviously, he had gained a lot during this period of time. The emperor's birthday was in half a month's time. Lu Ming planned to ask about his father's condition. He walked out of the General Star Hall and onto the street, heading toward the Imperial Palace. At this time, the people on the street suddenly looked up at the sky in unison and started discussing. Who is that person? You're actually so bold, daring to fly above the imperial capital so brazenly. Someone shouted. Ordinary martial arts grandmaster powerhouses were forbidden from flying in the sky above the imperial capital. Only overlord-level figures were not restricted by this restriction. Now, someone actually dared to do this? Lu Ming also looked up. In the sky, a young figure in his 20s, wearing a red robe, was walking in the air towards the depths of the imperial capital. It's Ling Yanqi, one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yanqi. Someone exclaimed. What? It's actually Ling Yanqi. Many people were shocked. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was Ling Yanqi, the strongest of the younger generation in the Blazing Sun Empire's 5 major sects, the Crimson Cloud Valley. He was one of the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. This was Lu Ming's first time meeting the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun. "Brother Ling, wait a moment." At this moment, a soft shout came from behind. Then, a white-robed young man with a handsome face stepped through the air. "It's Feng Wuji from the Mystical Sword Sect. Another one of the 6 heroes." Someone shouted. "He is Feng Wuji." Lu Ming's heart stirred. Lu Ming had heard of Feng Wuji's name countless times in the Mystical Sword Sect. Feng Wuji was the pride of the Mystical Sword Sect's younger generation. He was the strongest among his peers. Although Duanmu Lin was known as a peerless genius, he was still young and couldn't compete with Feng Wuji. Lu Ming had been in the Mystical Sword Sect for more than a year, and this was the first time he had seen her in person. "Brother Feng, you've come so quickly. Let's go together." Ling Yanqi smiled and waited for Feng Wuji to arrive. The two of them then disappeared into the sky. "My God, 2 of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun are here today. This is rare." "That's right. It's usually extremely difficult to even see one. Now, there are 2 of them. His Majesty the Emperor's 60th birthday is approaching. No matter what, the 5 great sects have to put on a show. They'll definitely gather in the imperial capital, and it's inevitable that the geniuses of the 5 great sects will gather. Will the 6 heroes gather and start a competition? I'm really looking forward to it. It's hard to say. Among the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong is unrivaled, but the other 5 have never fought. I wonder who's stronger. It would be great if there was a peak confrontation this time." On the streets, countless people were discussing. As for not being able to fly in the imperial capital, that was directly ignored by them. If the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun couldn't fly in the imperial city, who else could? They were the future overlords of the Burning Sun Empire. In the future, the entire Burning Sun Empire would be theirs. Lu Ming did not say anything and continued on his way to the palace. However, there was a sharp glint in his eyes. He would reach the height of the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes sooner or later, and even surpass them. He successfully entered the imperial palace and saw Hua Qi. Unfortunately, even though the royal family had mobilized a large number of manpower, there was still no news of his father, Lu Yuntian. Lu Ming sighed and could only wait. After discussing the current situation with Hua Qi, Lu Ming left the palace. When he arrived at the gate of the General Star Hall, he discovered that a large number of students had gathered there and were currently dispersing. "Tianyun, he's back. Damn it, why didn't he appear earlier? It's all his fault." Mumbling sounds came from the students all around. Of course, his voice was very soft as he was afraid that Lu Ming would hear him. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. He was somewhat puzzled. "Big brother Tianyun." At this moment, Ming Feng came over. "Ming Feng, what's going on?" Lu Ming asked. "Big brother Tianyun, it's the Shifang Sword School. Just now, a disciple of the Shifang Sword School came and threatened to cripple you. However, you weren't here, so everyone said you were in seclusion. Those disciples of the Shifang Sword School injured more than 10 students of the General Stars Hall. They were extremely arrogant." Ming Feng whispered. "It's the 10 Direction Sword School again." There was a flash of killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes. "Big brother Tianyun, I think you'd better avoid them for now. I heard that there are geniuses on the Esilavirer list among the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School. They're at the peak of the Great Martial Master realm and are extremely powerful." Ming Feng said worriedly. "If they come again, inform me." Lu Ming left a sentence in an extremely domineering manner and then headed back to the dormitory. In the days that followed, Lu Ming stayed in the dormitory and cultivated various martial arts techniques on the 3rd platform of the Supreme Shrine. Time flew by and half a month passed. In this half a month, a storm had gathered in the imperial capital, and the geniuses of the 5 great sects had all gathered. Not only were there Master Realm geniuses, but there were also Grand Master Realm geniuses and even gold disciples from various sections. However, in this half a month, although all the sects had gathered, it had been very calm. Even the disciples of the omnidirectional sword sect did not come looking for Lu Ming again. However, everyone felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. It was like the calm before the storm, and it was unusually depressing. Half a month later, the 60th birthday of the Emperor of the Burning Sun Empire, Hua Zhengxing, was just the beginning. Early in the morning, Hua Qi came to pick Lu Ming up in a beast carriage. Together with Hua Qi, they arrived at the Imperial Palace. The birthday banquet was held in the front yard of the Imperial Palace. It occupied a large area, but only a few dozen tables were placed. Because those who could come here were all of high status, there were not many people. Lu Ming followed Hua Qi and sat at a table on the right. As time passed, the number of people slowly increased. Hua Qi's siblings, concubines, nobles, and ministers all sat down. The Valley Master and the elders of the Scarlet Cloud Valley have arrived. A loud shout reverberated throughout the entire area. All the princes, princesses, concubines, and ministers changed their expressions and stood up. Lu Ming did not want to be too special and got up as well. At the main entrance, a group of 6 people walked in with majestic steps. The leader was a middle-aged man with a full beard. He was wearing a red robe and had a burly figure. His gaze swept across the crowd, and everyone felt as if a vast ocean was surging towards them. It was extremely terrifying. Behind him, there were 4 old men who were also wearing red robes, but their red robes were inlaid with gold. He was the golden-robed elder of the Crimson Cloud Valley. The last one was a young man. He was one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yanqi. Greetings, Scarlet Cloud Valley Master. All of the concubines, princes, nobles, and ministers saluted the Valley Master. From this, it could be seen how much the imperial family had declined. They were still very respectful to the 5 great sections. No need to be so polite. Where's His Majesty? Has he not arrived yet? The Scarlet Heaven Valley Master laughed and sat down on a chair. Chapter 253. Chapter 253, The 5 Sect Leaders. 549690339. Brother Ling, you've come so quickly. I'm sorry for not welcoming you. Ha. A burst of hearty laughter was heard. Hua Zhengxing strode over with a few guards. The other concubines, ministers, princes, and princesses all bowed to Hua Zhengxing. The Valley Master stood up and cupped his fists. Greetings, Your Majesty. Congratulations on your 60th birthday. This is a small gift, please accept it. The Valley Master took out a jade box and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. Brother Ling is too polite. Hua Zhengxing laughed as he accepted the jade box and passed it to a guard. The sect leader and elders of the Mystical Sword sect have arrived. At this time, another shout was heard. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice. Lin Shui, the sect leader of the Mystical Sword sect, walked in with a few golden-robed elders, and Feng Wuji was also at the side. Lin Shui greets Your Majesty. I wish Your Majesty a longevity as long as the southern mountain. This is a small gift, please accept it. Lin Shui walked over, took out a jade box, and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. It's my honor that Brother Lin is here. There's no need to be so polite. Please have a seat. Hua Zhengxing accepted the gift and said politely. At this time, another shout rang out. It was the sect master and elders of the Ghost Moon Saber sect, one of the 5 great sects, who had arrived. Among them, one of the 6 heroes, the number 1 genius of the Ghost Moon Saber sect, Shengguan Yan, had also arrived. 3 of the 5 great sects had arrived. In a short while, one of the 5 great sects, the Heaven Fiend sect, had also arrived. As everyone sat down, Hua Zhengxing and the 4 sect leaders chatted for a while. The sect leader and elders of the 10 Direction Sword sect have arrived. Heavenly King Zhen has arrived. A few shouts rang out. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming looked toward the main entrance. A group of people walked in. The person in the lead was dressed in fine clothes. His brows were like swords. Although he was middle-aged, he was extremely handsome. Just by looking at him closely, one could feel that this person had the aura to swallow mountains and rivers. Next to him was a burly man in his 50s. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. He was wearing a dragon robe, and as he looked around, a murderous aura could be faintly seen. He was like a general who had swept through the battlefield. The person in the lead is the head of the 10 Direction Sword School, Qiu Wuyang. Beside him is the Heavenly Suppression King. Hua Qi whispered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming nodded. He looked at the burly man in the flood dragon robe and thought, so he is the Heavenly King of Suppression. Lu Ming still remembered that when he had just arrived at the imperial capital, he had taught the Heavenly King's son, Hua Jia, a harsh lesson. At the thought of Hua Jia, Lu Ming realized that there was a pair of eyes filled with murderous intent behind the Heavenly King. They were glaring at him fiercely. Who else could it be but Hua Jia? Lu Ming smiled at Hua Jia and pointed to his crotch. Hua Jia's face turned red, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, Lu Ming was referring to the incident where he peed his pants. However, with so many important figures present, he didn't dare to flare up. He could only grit his teeth and endure it. Ha, Brother Qiu's presence is a great honor to me. Hua Zhengxing quickly stood up and cupped his fists at Qiu Wuyang with a smile. The other imperial concubines, princes, and princesses also stood up and bowed respectfully. Your Majesty is too polite. I came in a hurry today and forgot to bring a gift. Please forgive me. Qiu Wuyang nodded. There was no respect in his words. It could be said that he didn't care at all. To say the worst, he didn't put the emperor in his eyes at all. The other sect masters would still bow to him politely, but Qiu Wuyang's attitude was cold. He even said that he didn't have time to forget about the birthday gift. What a childish reason. The other sect leaders' expressions were somewhat unsightly. Hua Zhengxing was even more stunned. He then forced a smile and said, "It's fine as long as Brother Qiu is here. There's no need for gifts, please take a seat." Second brother, I was with Sect Master Qiu, so I forgot to bring a gift. Please don't take offense, haha. Heavenly King Zhen laughed and sat down at the side. Detestable. Hua Qi's body trembled in anger, and he gritted his teeth. The attitudes of Qiu Wuyang and Heavenly King Zhen were full of contempt. They even ignored the authority of the emperor and didn't take the Burning Sun Emperor seriously. A hint of anger flashed across Hua Zhengxing's eyes, but he concealed it very well. In the blink of an eye, a smile appeared on his face. He returned to his seat, raised his glass, and said, "It's my honor to have all of you here today. Come, let me toast to all of you." Everyone raised their glasses and drank it all. Ha! This is great. You are all the pillars of the Burning Sun Empire. I. Hua Zhengxing laughed as he spoke, but he was interrupted at this moment. All right, Your Majesty. We've drunk the wine and offered our congratulations. It's time to talk business. Qiu Wuyang's indifferent voice made Hua Zhengxing stop in his tracks. Hua Zhengxing, as well as a few other nobles and ministers, all had ugly expressions. Interrupting someone's speech was an extremely rude thing to do, let alone the king of a country. Qiu Wuyang had completely disregarded the royal family. Qiu Wuyang, we're here today to celebrate His Majesty's birthday. That's the real business. Is there anything else? Lin Shui looked at Qiu Wuyang and said coldly. Qiu Wuyang's attitude was too much. Hua Zhengxing looked at Lin Shui gratefully. Of course there are other matters. Although the matter of His Majesty's birthday is big, it is much smaller when compared to this matter. Qiu Wuyang glanced at Lin Xue, and a trace of killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Then, he looked around and said, "Everyone, what do you think of the current power of the Burning Sun Empire?" Everyone's eyes moved. They didn't understand why Qiu Wuyang would ask such a question. After a while, an old man cupped his fists and said, "With the help of His Majesty and the various sect leaders, the Blazing Sun Empire is becoming more and more powerful. It is only a matter of time before we surpass other countries." This old man was the Prime Minister of the Burning Sun Empire, and he was very loyal to the royal family. "Bullshit." Qiu Wuyang flicked his sleeve and scolded. The Prime Minister's face turned red. He was the Prime Minister, and yet he was being berated in public. Where was his face? However, in front of Qiu Wuyang, he did not dare to refute and could only suppress his anger. Hua Zhengxing's expression did not look good either. Scolding the Prime Minister was indirectly scolding him. Currently, the 36 countries of Emperor Yun are all working hard to rule and their strength is constantly improving. The Burning Sun Empire is surrounded by strong enemies and many countries are eyeing them covetously. Most of them are stronger than the Burning Sun Empire. I'm sure you all know about this. Out of the 36 empires in Emperor Yun, the Blazing Sun Empire is considered to be at the bottom. Qiu Wuyang looked around and said loudly. Everyone's expression changed slightly. Qiu Wuyang was right about this. Among the 36 kingdoms of Emperor Yun, the Blazing Sun Empire was indeed considered to be at the lower tier. The surrounding countries were also eyeing them covetously. The Blazing Sun Empire is full of geniuses and powerhouses. Do you know why we are getting weaker and weaker? Qiu Wuyang asked. The crowd frowned, not knowing what Qiu Wuyang was trying to do. Qiu Wuyang smiled and said, "That is, the forces of the Burning Sun Empire are too scattered. They are fighting on their own. It would be strange if they are not weak." "Oh. Qiu Wuyang, what should we do then?" Lin Xue frowned and asked. Chapter 254. Chapter 254, Chapter 254 The Battle of the Overlords. 549690339, of course, we have to combine our powers. I suggest that we establish a Burning Sun Alliance. All the sects and powers of the Burning Sun Empire must join this alliance. We will elect a leader and then swear to follow the leader's orders. Only in this way can the Burning Sun Empire grow stronger and stronger, resist the foreign enemies, and become stronger and stronger. Qiu Wuyang shouted. "Ha ha ha, Qiu Wuyang, you've finally revealed your purpose. You want to be the leader of the alliance and rule the world, right?" Lin Xue laughed. "Lin Xue, what are you laughing at? I think that Sect Master Qiu's suggestion is very good. Besides, in the current Blazing Sun Empire, who else is qualified to take on the position of alliance leader other than Sect Master Qiu?" Heavenly King Zhen stood up and shouted. "Heavenly King Zhen, you are wrong. In the Blazing Sun Empire, the royal family is the legitimate family. Why go through so much trouble and create the Sun Alliance? We can just follow His Majesty's orders." The Valley Master retorted. "In the world of martial Tao, the strong are respected. Forgive me for being blunt, but Your Majesty, he doesn't have the right," Qiu Wuyang said coldly. Giggle. Hua Zhengxing clenched his fists tightly. Insult, this was a blatant insult. This was equivalent to slapping the emperor's face in public. Hateful, hateful. Hua Qi growled, his entire body trembling from the intense atmosphere. Bang! A white-haired old man slammed the table and stood up. He raised his trembling hand and pointed at Qiu Wuyang. "Qiu Wuyang, you've disrespected your superiors and insulted His Majesty. You deserve to die. A crime that deserves 10,000 deaths. I think you're the one who's going to die." Qiu Wuyang's eyes glowed, and 2 rays of sword qi flashed out of his eyes. It was so fast that there was no warning. Puchi. The elder had been pierced by the sword Qi, and 2 holes appeared on his body. No blood flowed out, but he had no life left. Teacher. Hua Zhengxing roared. This old man was Hua Zhengxing's teacher, the teacher of the emperor. However, he was killed by Qiu Wuyang's gaze. Qiu Wuyang, you've gone too far. Hua Zhengxing glared at Qiu Wuyang in anger. However, Qiu Wuyang only smiled as if he had just killed an ant. This old man is trying to ruin our plan. I suspect that he is a spy sent by another empire to destroy our empire. Such a person must be killed as soon as possible. In just a few words, he had turned the emperor's teacher into a spy. Hua Zhengxing, Hua Qi, and some of the other members of the imperial family were furious. They felt humiliated, but there was nothing they could do. The power of the 10-direction sword school was too strong. Hua Qi clenched his hands so tightly that his nails had dug into his flesh and blood was flowing out, but he did not feel anything. Lu Ming frowned and patted Hua Qi's back. A surge of essential qi flowed into Hua Qi's body. Only then did Hua Qi slowly calm down. Otherwise, he would have suffered internal injuries from being too excited. What do you all think of my suggestion just now? Qiu Wuyang asked as he looked around. I agree with Sect Master Qiu's suggestion. The sect leader of Heavenly Fiends sect smiled faintly. The other 3 sect masters' expressions changed at Tian Sha sect master's words. Why would Heaven Fiends sect agree to this? Could it be that they had already formed an alliance with the 10-direction sword school? If that was the case, the situation would be serious. The omnipresent sword sect was already extremely powerful, and with the addition of the Heaven Fiends sect, the balance of power in the Blazing Sun Empire would be broken. Ha, brother you really do understand me. Qiu Wuyang laughed and looked at the other sections. Qiu Wuyang, stop dreaming. The mystical sword sect will never agree to this. Lin Shui sneered. My Crimson Cloud Valley will not accompany you either. My Ghost Moon Saber sect is also not interested. The sect masters of the Scarlet Cloud Valley and the Ghost Moon Saber sect also refused. Qiu Wuyang's face darkened. Then, he looked at Hua Zhengxing and said, Your Majesty, what about you? Me? He, the Blazing Sun Empire has been around for more than 2,000 years. How can it be ruined by me? Please forgive me, I can't agree to this. Hua Zhengxing said coldly. Hua Zhengxing, you have to think carefully. For the sake of your Hua family and the tens of thousands of lives, think carefully. Qiu Wuyang's eyes flashed with killing intent as he said coldly. Qiu Wuyang, what are you doing? To threaten His Majesty? Do you really think that the 10-direction sword school is invincible? Lin Shui was furious and shouted. I don't know if my 10-direction sword sect is invincible, but I can still destroy your mystical sword sect. Do you want to try? Qiu Wuyang's tone was cold. Let's see how you're going to destroy the mystical sword sect. Lin Shui didn't back down. Her aura surged out and a terrifying sword qi shot up into the sky. There was a terrifying aura in the sword qi. Lin Shui, it's been decades since we last fought. I'd like to see how much you've improved. Boom. As soon as Qiu Wuyang finished speaking, an extremely strong aura burst out from his body. At the same time, a beam of sword qi shot up into the sky. Boom. Lin Shui's and Qiu Wuyang's sword qi met in the air and collided fiercely. An earth-shattering boom resounded, shaking the entire capital. The 2 sword qi formed a pillar of light at the point of collision, shooting straight into the sky and smashing the clouds into pieces. At this moment, everyone in the imperial capital stared at the pillar of light in shock and horror. Even those who were further away from the imperial capital could see the pillar of light. Everyone was trying to guess what kind of existences were fighting. In the palace, Lu Ming looked on in shock. Was this the power of a sect master, the ruler of the Burning Sun Empire? It was indeed extremely terrifying, as deep as the ocean and unfathomable. They could kill ordinary martial arts grandmasters with a flick of their fingers. In that move just now, the two of them didn't really fight at all. It was just a clash of auras. If they really made a move, the imperial capital would be destroyed. Force, what a strong force. Both of their forces have definitely reached perfection. In fact, there's even a hint of intent in them. Lu Ming's mind was racing. After force reached perfection, one could use force as a foundation to comprehend intent. For example, fire intent, wind intent, and so on. Will was the true essence of heaven and earth, and it was incomparably powerful. Only by comprehending that intent could one step into the martial king realm. Lin Shui, then today, I will kill you first. Qiu Wuyang let out a long howl as his sword qi soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. I'm not afraid of you. Lin Shui's long hair fluttered in the wind as she faced Qiu Wuyang without backing down. Boom! Boom! At this moment, two terrifying auras burst out one after another. They were not any weaker than Lin Shui and Qiu Wuyang. It was the Scarlet Cloud Valley Master and the Sect Master of the Ghost Moon Saber Sect. Their auras combined with Lin Shui's and pressed down on Qiu Wuyang. Qiu Wuyang, do you really think that the Blazing Sun Empire belongs to your 10 Direction Sword Sect? Don't go too far. The Valley Master said. The Crimson Cloud Valley and the Mystical Sword Sect had always been on good terms, so he was naturally on Lin Shui's side. The Sect Master of the Ghost Moon Saber Sect didn't say anything, but his attitude said it all. Chapter 255. Chapter 255, The Battle of the Six Heroes. 549690339, Qiu Wuyang's expression changed. The three Overlord-level characters working together made him feel extremely pressured. Lin Shui, what are you doing? Do you think the royal family will take you seriously if you attack Sect Master Qiu in the palace? Heaven Suppression King shouted. Many people looked down on him. Qiu Wuyang was the one who didn't take the royal family seriously. He had humiliated the royal family like that, but the Heavenly Suppression King didn't say anything. But now, he jumped out and used the name of the royal family to suppress Lin Shui and the others. How despicable and shameless. Good, good, very good. Lin Shui, Ling Patian, let's wait and see. Qiu Wuyang said, good, a few times. His eyes were extremely cold as he glanced at Lin Shui, the Valley Master, and the others. Finally, he looked at Hua Zhengxing and said, Hua Zhengxing, you, take care. His voice was cold, and the threat was extremely obvious. With that, he waved his hand and stepped into the air, leaving first. The other people from the 10 Directions Sword Sect followed closely behind. Brother, you don't understand the bigger picture. The Hua family will be destroyed in your hands sooner or later. The Heavenly King glared at Hua Zhengxing in anger. General trend? The general trend is to make the entire Hua family submit to the Shifang Sword School and become their slaves. Hua Zhengxing said as he looked at the Heavenly King mockingly. You fuck. The Heavenly King's expression turned ugly. He snorted heavily and left with Hua Jia and the others. However, before he left, the Heavenly King glanced at Lu Ming, making Lu Ming's hair stand on end. It was a blatant killing intent. Your Majesty, I'll take my leave first. The sect master laughed and bade his farewells, leaving with the rest of the Heavenly Fiend sect. Only 3 of the 5 great sects were left. The birthday banquet continued. However, regardless of whether it was Hua Zhengxing, Lin Shui, or the other 3 sect leaders, their faces were unusually serious. Today, Qiu Wuyang had suddenly proposed to establish the Sun Alliance, and Heavenly Fiend's sect had even agreed to it. They guessed that the Heaven Fiend's sect had most likely joined forces with the 10 Direction Sword sect. This was a major event, and the balance of power in the Burning Sun Empire was about to be broken. The blazing Sun Empire was about to enter an eventful period. The atmosphere of the birthday banquet was very depressing. Not long after, the three major sects also took their leave. Not long after, Lu Ming also got up and left. Lu Ming, you've seen what happened today. The omnipresent sword sect is simply too ambitious and lawless. Hua Qi sent Lu Ming to the entrance of the palace and said through gritted teeth. Lu Ming patted Hua Qi's shoulder and returned to the General Star Hall without saying anything. After returning to the General Star's hall, Lu Ming sat on his bed. His thoughts were in a mess and he could not calm down. Today's Emperor's birthday banquet allowed him to truly see the dark and turbulent situation in the burning Sun Empire. He had a feeling that the blazing Sun Empire was about to fall into chaos. In the near future, a terrifying storm would probably be brewing. He, on the other hand, was already deeply involved in the whirlpool because of his friends and family, and it was difficult for him to stay out of it. The only thing he could do now was to improve his strength as much as possible. Without strength, he would only be crushed into dust in this storm. He took a few deep breaths, adjusted his mood, and began to cultivate. Somewhere in the imperial capital, there was a group of extremely luxurious palaces, even more luxurious than the imperial palace. This was the residence of the 10-Direction Sword School in the imperial capital. In a large hall in the depths of the palace, Qiu Wuyang sat at the head of the table. Below him were the golden-robed elders of the 10-Direction Sword sect. Bang! Qiu Wuyang slammed the table and said with a gloomy face, Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Ghost Moon Saber Sect. I knew that they wouldn't agree. A bunch of damn things. Sect leader, especially that Lin Shui, they have been targeting the sect leader at every turn. They even dared to fight with the sect leader. They are overestimating themselves. A golden-robed elder said. Humph. Lin Shui, the mystical sword sect won't be arrogant for long. Qiu Wuyang sneered. Qiu Wuyang pondered for a moment and said, it's time to let them know the strength of our 10-Direction Sword School. Pass down my order. Let the younger generation attack first. Let them know how weak their so-called geniuses are. Yes. The golden-robed elders acknowledged in unison. 3 days later, a piece of news swept through the entire imperial city like a storm. Guanhong, one of the 6 heroes of the 10-Direction Sword Sect, challenged Feng Wuji of the Mystical Sword Sect and Ling Yanqi of the Crimson Cloud Valley. The location was at the highest peak of the imperial capital, the peak of Sunset Peak. Once the news spread, everyone went crazy. Other than the Shifang Sword School, the other 4 major sects each had one member of the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes. Only the 10-Direction Sword School had 2. One of them was Qiu Changkong, and the other was Guanhong. Qiu Changkong, the leader of the 6 heroes, was incomparably powerful. There was no doubt that he was able to suppress the other 5. As for the other 5, they had never fought each other before, so no one knew who was stronger. Now, was it finally time to fight? Countless people swarmed towards Setting Sun Peak, hoping to witness the battle between the 6 heroes. When Lu Ming ended his 3-day closed-door cultivation and walked out of his room, he saw Ming Feng rushing in. Ming Feng, what's the rush? Lu Ming asked. Big brother Tianyun, let's go to Sunset Peak. The battle between the 6 heroes is about to begin. Guanhong is challenging Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi. My big brother and the others have already rushed over and told me to come and find you. If we don't go now, it will be too late. Ming Feng panted. A battle between the 6 heroes? Lu Ming was stunned. Then, his eyes lit up. He grabbed the bright peak and took a step forward. He was already 50 meters away. Only one word was heard. Let's go. Lu Ming grabbed Ming Feng and used the high flight step. He was as fast as the wind and rushed towards Setting Sun Peak. Sunset Peak was located in the western part of the imperial capital. When Lu Ming neared Sunset Peak, he saw a shocking scene. From all directions, countless silhouettes formed into long dragons that rushed towards setting sun peak. There were so many people that it was impossible to distinguish them. Among them, there were even martial arts grandmaster powerhouses. Lu Ming followed the crowd and quickly approached Sunset Peak. Boom! Boom! At this moment, a terrifying rumble was heard from the peak of Sunset Peak. The war has started. Guan Hong and Feng Wuji have started their war. Someone shouted. Let's go and take a look. Buzz! Buzz! One figure after another began to climb up setting sun peak. Lu Ming held onto the bright peak as if it was weightless. He stepped on a piece of green grass and his figure shot forward for hundreds of meters, approaching the peak. Boom! On the mountaintop, the rumbling sounds continued. Lu Ming looked up and saw two figures charging at each other in the sky above the mountain. The sword chi was shocking and the terrifying shock waves were surging outwards. A suffocating pressure filled the air. What powerful battle prowess! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. With his eye of discernment, he could naturally tell that one of them was Feng Wuji of the mystical sword sect. The other man was tall and had a wild aura. The sword in his hand was an extremely wide giant sword. He must be Guan Hong. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he had reached the peak. At this moment, Guan Hong and Feng Wuji had already exchanged a few hundred moves. Feng Wuji, admit your defeat. Guan Hong let out a long cry, and then slashed out a shocking sword light. Chapter 256. Chapter 256, The Six Heroes Change. 549690339, this sword seemed to be able to cut through the sky. Its power was so strong that it was shocking. Feng Wuji also let out a long howl and slashed out a shocking sword radiance. Boom! Terrifying shockwaves rumbled in the air, the space around them trembled violently under the sword chi. After that, Feng Wuji was forced back, his body trembled and a trickle of blood flowed down the corner of his mouth. Feng Wuji is injured, Feng Wuji has lost. Instantly, the area around Sunset Peak began to ring out with thunderous cries. Countless people were shouting in excitement. The other 5 of the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes finally had a winner. Guan Hong defeated Feng Wuji. The Shifang Sword School is too strong. Not only is Qiu Changkong suppressing everyone, even Guan Hong is so strong. The number 1 sect in the Burning Sun Empire is indeed worthy of its name. In the future, the 10 Direction Sword School will be even stronger. Many people sighed. Feng Wuji, you're only so-so. Guan Hong's figure was majestic as he stood in the air and said proudly. Feng Wuji's face turned dejected, he sighed and said, Guan Hong, I didn't expect you're sure to be at the major accomplishment stage. My defeat is not an injustice. Feng Wuji, in my opinion, you are not qualified to be on the same level as me. The 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun shall be changed to 5 heroes from now on. Guan Hong smiled proudly. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed drastically, especially Feng Wuji's. Guan Hong's words were basically kicking Feng Wuji out of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun. If that was really the case, Feng Wuji wouldn't be the only one affected, but the entire mystical sword sect. The mystical sword sect's reputation would take a huge hit, and some geniuses might not even choose to join the mystical sword sect in the future. Guan Hong, you were just lucky to win against Brother Feng by 1 move. What are you so arrogant for? A loud roar came from the side. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and realized that there were a few people standing in the sky. Lu Ming was distracted by the battle between Feng Wuji and Guan Hong earlier and did not pay much attention to them. He only noticed them now. There were a total of 4 people. Lu Ming had seen 3 of them at the Emperor's birthday banquet. They were the other 3 of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun. Ling Yanqi of the Crimson Cloud Valley. He was the one who had spoken just now. There was also Shangguan Yi of the Ghost Moon Saber sect and Zhuo Lian of the Heavenly Fiend sect. There was another person who was very young, only 23 or 24 years old. He was carrying a broad sword on his back and standing proudly. Guan Hong's eyes turned to Ling Yanqi. Guan Hong, this time you said you wanted to challenge me and Brother Feng. Now it's my turn. I won't take advantage of you. You can start meditating now. When you've recovered, we'll fight. Ling Yanqi continued. Ling Yanqi, who said I wanted to fight you? The one who is dealing with you is someone else. Guan Hong laughed coldly. Someone else? Ling Yanqi was stunned and could not help but look at Shangguan Jia and Zhuo Lian. Ling Yanqi, you're looking at the wrong place. I'm the one fighting you. The young man with a sword on his back stepped forward and said arrogantly. You? Ling Yanqi was stunned. Everyone else in the audience was stunned. It was obvious that this young man was a disciple of the 10 Directions Sword School, but almost no one knew him. The 10 Directions Sword sect actually wanted to let an unknown youth fight against Ling Yanqi. Was this arrogance or humiliation? Ha ha ha, Guan Hong, are you sure he has the right to fight me? Ling Yanqi's eyes were filled with anger. We'll know whether you're qualified or not after the battle. Guan Hong sneered. The 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun will be replaced from now on. The young man said arrogantly. Ha, kid, you're very confident, aren't you? Ling Yanqi was so angry that he laughed. It's not confidence, it's strength. Remember, the one who defeated you is Qiu Changlai. The young man let out a long cry, and his aura burst out. The combat sword on his back automatically unsheathed, and he flew into the sky, slashing at Ling Yanqi. This sword caused the heavens and earth to shake. It was terrifying. In an instant, the expressions of most of the people present changed, and they were extremely shocked. This was because this sword was too powerful. In the sky, Ling Yanqi's expression became extremely serious. His body emitted heat waves. A battle spear appeared in his hand. With a wave of the spear, a giant flaming eagle formed and attacked Qiu Changlai. Boom! With a loud boom, Ling Yanqi and Qiu Changlai were forced back. Then, they roared in anger and started to fight again. He's too strong. Who exactly is this Qiu Changlai? Before, he was unknown, but his battle strength was so strong that he could actually fight with Ling Yanqi. I'm afraid he's a genius secretly trained by the 10 Directions Sword School. On Sunset Peak, countless people were watching the battle in the sky and discussing it. In the sky, Feng Wuji, Shangguan Yi, and the others also had a serious expression on their faces. On the other hand, Guan Hong's lips curled into a cold smile. Boom! Boom! The explosions continued, and in the blink of an eye, 100 moves had passed. Bang! At this moment, an earth-shattering sound was heard. Then, a figure flew back. It was Ling Yanqi. The entire place fell silent. Could it be that Ling Yanqi had lost? Buzz! Ling Yan's red hind legs moved 1,000 meters before he stopped. He stood still in the void, unmoving. All of a sudden, Ling Yanqi's body trembled, and an arrow of blood shot out from his chest. At this moment, everyone saw that there was a long sword wound on Ling Yanqi's chest. He had lost. Ling Yanqi had lost. He had lost at the hands of an unknown youth from the 10 Directions Sword sect. The setting sun peak was in an uproar. This news was like a whirlwind, spreading from the setting sun peak to the entire imperial city. The 10 Directions Sword sect was too strong. First, it was Guan Hong who defeated Feng Wuji. Then, a young man emerged and defeated one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yanqi. It was too shocking. From now on, the structure of the younger generation of the Scorching Sun sect would undergo a substantial change. Were they excluding Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi? Or should he add another person? No matter what, the reputation of the 10 Directions Sword School would reach its peak. In the sky, Ling Yanqi's body trembled slightly, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. I told you to remember that the one who defeated you was Qiu Changlai. Qiu Changlai laughed arrogantly. The corner of his mouth revealed a hint of disdain. Brother Ling, are you all right? Feng Wuji appeared beside Ling Yan's naked body and injected a stream of true qi into him. I'm fine. Ling Yanqi smiled sadly. Feng Wuji sighed. Today, he and Ling Yanqi were completely defeated. It was conceivable that in the future, the reputation of the Mystical Sword Sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley would fall while the Ten Directions Sword Sect would rise even more. Wonderful, wonderful. The heroes of the Ten Directions Sword School are really admirable. Zhuo Yan from Heavenly Fiend's sect clapped his hands and walked out. He then looked at Shangguan Yan and said, Brother Shangguan, since you're here today, why don't we have a fight? Let's fight. Shangguan Yan was very direct as he stared at Zhuo Yan. The crowd was extremely excited. Another two of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun were about to battle. Boom! Without any warning, Shangguan Yan and Zhuo Yan started fighting. The two of them were engaged in an intense battle. Ming Feng, you stay here. I'll be leaving first. Lu Ming said to Ming Feng. Ah. Big brother Tianyun, the battle isn't over yet. Ming Feng was extremely surprised. Chapter 257. Chapter 257, The Challenge from the Ten Direction Sword School. 549690339, you can continue reading. Lu Ming smiled. He then moved and headed down Setting Sun Peak. He had not come to see the outcome of the battle between the 6 heroes, but to see their strength. Now, he had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun, so there was no need to continue watching. He didn't care who won or lost among the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun. Lu Ming moved like a gust of wind and returned to the dormitory very quickly. He sat cross-legged on the bed and closed his eyes. The scene of the battle between the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun appeared in his mind. He already had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 heroes. Feng Wuji, Ling Yanqi, Guanhong, Qiu Changlai, and the others were all at the peak of the 3rd level of the martial ancestor realm. However, their combat strength was extremely terrifying. They were at least at the 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. One had to know that he was a martial arts grandmaster. The higher one's martial arts realm was, the harder it was to fight across realms. In the martial arts grandmaster realm, to be able to fight across one level was already considered a peerless genius, let alone 2 levels. As for Guanhong and Qiu Changlai, the only reason they were able to win was because they were stronger in both momentum and martial arts. The Scorching Sun's 6 heroes indeed live up to their names. They're only in their 20s, but many grandmasters of the older generation are no match for them. Lu Ming secretly thought. However, Lu Ming was not dejected. Instead, there was a burning flame in his eyes. Although the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun were strong, he was confident that he would catch up to them and even surpass them in no time. After some thought, Lu Ming left the General Star Hall and went to the Treasure Pavilion again. He spent the last 400,000 spiritual crystals on 100 Class 9 Lever 3 demonic cores. After buying the demonic pill, Lu Ming headed straight into the Divine Wind Valley. The tough training continued. Every day, Lu Ming had gained something. Be it his cultivation, martial arts techniques, or controlling force, he had improved. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Lu Ming had refined all 100 demonic cores. He finally walked out of the Holy Wind Valley. He returned to the dormitory but did not walk in. Instead, he walked towards Ming Feng's dormitory. He wanted to find Ming Feng to inquire about the situation in the imperial capital in the past month. He had a premonition that the imperial capital would not be peaceful this month. There would definitely be many things happening. When he arrived at Ming Feng's dormitory, he realized that Ming Feng was not there. Could it be at Ming City? Lu Ming had an idea. He walked toward Ming City's dormitory. Now, Ming City had long replaced the position of the top 10 masters of the Baiqi Outer Hall. They lived in a courtyard. When he arrived at Ming Cheng's dormitory, he found Ming Feng and Ming Zhu there. They were sitting on the stone bench in the courtyard and chatting. "Big brother Tianyun, you've come out of your seclusion," Ming Feng said with a smile when he saw Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, others say that I'm a martial arts fanatic, but I think that you're the real one. How can you still cultivate in seclusion at this time?" Ming Qing laughed. "Oh. Why can't I go into seclusion in peace? Has something major happened in the imperial capital during this period of time?" Lu Ming asked with a smile. "Of course. During this period of time, the imperial city has been in a state of turmoil." Ming Qing said, "A month ago, the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes fought. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were defeated, while Shengguan Yi and Zhuo Yan fought for 1,000 moves, but neither of them won. However, this matter did not stop there. A few days later, the gold-ranked disciples of the various sects fought again. It was extremely intense, but the 10 Direction Sword School was extremely powerful. In the battle between the gold-ranked disciples, the 10 Direction Sword School had the upper hand. About 10 days ago, the Omnipresent Sword School sent a 9th grade Great Martial Master to challenge the Mystical Sword School, the Crimson Cloud Valley, and the General Star Hall. The General Star Hall was the first to suffer a crushing defeat. The strongest group of people in the inner hall were defeated by a disciple of the Omnipresent Sword School. After that, the Crimson Cloud Valley and the Mystical Sword Sect also suffered a crushing defeat. The disciples sent by the Omnipresent Sword Sect were too strong. They were invincible in the realm of the Great Martial Master. The disciples on the Esilavira ranking of the Mystical Sword Sect were almost completely defeated. Ming Qing roughly explained the matter. Lu Ming was secretly surprised. Many things had happened in the imperial capital in the past month. In the past month, the 10 Direction Sword Sect's reputation has been at its peak, while the Mystical Sword Sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley's reputation has declined sharply. The royal family has been suppressed even more. It is said that the Mystical Sword Sect has already mobilized the geniuses with special bloodlines from the Qilin Yard to compete with the geniuses from the 10 Direction Sword Sect. Ming Qing said. "Big brother, one of the 9th grade Grandmaster Realm geniuses from the Omnidirectional Sword School has a special bloodline. If the Mystical Sword School or the Crimson Cloud Valley's geniuses with special bloodlines arrive, we might be able to fight them." Mingzhu's eyes sparkled as she spoke. "It's hard to say. I heard that some of the strongest great martial masters in the 10 Direction Sword School haven't even made a move yet." Ming Qing said. "It can't be." Ming Qing and Ming Feng were tongue-tied. "Ming Qing, brother Ming Qing, something big has happened." Suddenly, a young man rushed in. "Che Yuan, what happened?" Ming Qing asked the young man. "I heard that the geniuses with special bloodlines from the Mystical Sword Sect have arrived, and the disciples from the 10 Directions Sword Sect have already come to challenge them." The young man said. "What? That's fast. Let's go and take a look." Ming Qing called out. He then looked at Lu Ming. "Brother Tianyun, do you want to come along?" Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he nodded. Together with Ming Qing and the rest, they rushed towards the Mystical Sword Sect's residence in the Imperial City. When they arrived, they noticed that the entrance of the Mystical Sword Sect's mansion was already surrounded by people. At the very front, there were more than 10 disciples of the 10 Directions Sword School. A disciple from the 10 Directions Sword Sect stood at the entrance of the Mystical Sword Sect's residence and shouted arrogantly, "Mystical Sword Sect trash, get the hell out here. What special bloodline genius? I'm guessing they're just a bunch of trash." Ha ha ha. The other disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect laughed out loud. They were filled with contempt. The few men guarding the gate of the Mystical Sword Sect were ashen-faced. Trash from the mystical sword sect, get out here. Are you trying to be a coward? The young man at the front continued to call out. Tian Yun, this young man's name is Wu Kuei. He's extremely powerful, and he's been able to defeat almost all the grandmaster martial artists of the mystical sword sect by himself. Ming Cheng whispered to Lu Ming. Squeak. At this moment, the gate of the mystical sword sect's residence opened, and a few young men and women walked out. There were a total of 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman. All of them had threatening auras, and one could tell at a glance that they were dragons among men. Wu Kuei, don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated the trash from the 4 great halls. It's your biggest mistake to compare us with them. A young man carrying a battle axe walked out and said in a cold and arrogant manner. Lu Ming could not help but purse his lips. The people of Qilin Hall were all the same. No matter how strong or weak their cultivation was, they all had a high and mighty appearance. Of course, Qiu Yu was an exception, Lu Ming added in his heart. There are different levels of special bloodlines. Some special bloodlines are trash. In my opinion, you guys are no different from those trash. Wu Kuei laughed in disdain. You're looking for death. The young man from the mystical sword sect who was carrying a battle axe on his back roared in anger. Genuine qi gushed out, and the battle axe on his back flew out automatically into the young man's hand. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.